final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Adequate. Our ongoing mission to review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence. Yes, including Scouts. To seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable. To boldly go where many other Star Trek-based YouTube shows have gone before. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers throughout this fine planet Earth, and welcome to a live episode of Trekking Up North. I am one of your hosts, Captain Goodwill of the USS Adequate, and joining me as ever is the delectable, delicious Geeson from the planet home.
I'm a bald man in velvet.
And joining us this week, he's hunky, he's handsome, he's built like a British shed. That's right. Proper building materials. Take
I'm
that,
getting the
America.
impression Goodwill has never actually seen a shed before.
One can dream that one day I might own a shed of my own. It is Jason from Recommendations. Everybody give him a round of clap.
Wow.
Wow, that is the passion.
Welcome, Jason. How does it feel to know that Goodwill would like to put his tools in you?
Oh, well, I forgot how this show starts. I think the problem is that it's so long. You know, after 2 hours.
By the end, you're like, what was my
works.
life before this?
Yeah.
Would you say it was the measure of a man?
Exactly, yes.
He's now regretting his life choices. But seriously, how are you?
Not my life choices, but my choice to come here. This is being definitely analysed in real time. But fortunately, I can compute so many things in seconds, so it's absolutely fine. I'm all right. Now, look, I need to address a few things immediately because I think it's going to help us going forward.
Oh, God.
I realise this show is called Trekking Up North. Mm-hmm. I realise I was born in Southampton, which is almost as far away from the north as you can get. So, I have obviously Yorkshire tea.
Oh! That's fair.
Which also you can see is quite well used.
You've used quite a bit of it.
It's not, that's not, I bought it today. What I did buy today is I also know, so I've mentioned that on I'm doing things your way. I don't usually wear a uniform on my show. I'm wearing one because it's your show. I also don't drink on my show, but I know that you guys are not, opposed to a beverage during the show. So I have gone out and got some Newcastle Brown Ale.
Oh my word! You're willing to torture yourself for us.
Nookie Brune, or as they call it in London, Thames Water. It's well, speaking of alcohol, I am also celebrating today. I couldn't find pocket champagne, so I ended up with Prosecco, a travel Prosecco, I'll have you know, from the region of Spumante. I don't know if this
Lidl?
is
No.
Asda, actually.
Okay.
It's Spumante, Spumante, so Spumante, because we're northern. In celebration, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to do this. I'm hogging this part of the show. I am officially employed properly now. I can't get the lid off. I'm officially. Oh my god! Why is the cork OAP prosthetic colour?
Oh,
doesn't that look like a fake leg?
that is weird. Are you sure that's not Bucks Fizz? Is that actually champagne?
Do you know what? I was looking for
Prosecco,
Bucks Fizz.
sorry.
This is 10% proof, so I may be shit-faced by the time we get to a measure of a man.
I'm the only one who's on juice. I'm on lovely juice in my Cardassian glass.
I am officially properly employed now, meaning I will have most likely disposable income until Rachel Reeves takes that away from me. Ooh, this is quite nice.
Give it a week.
But I'm celebrating, so thank you everyone for your support over the last 6 months, 5 months, 6 months. It has been truly life-changing, and thank you everyone for all your love and support over those many months. So it's greatly appreciated. So this
Well
little
done.
swig is for you.
You have tried so incredibly hard. You have worked incredibly hard.
So we did the figures.
We have to say how much the UK job market is a mess right now. So the fact of like, you know, it's not the case of in the past where it was like, oh, you've got all the skills. Oh, you do that. You can just walk into something. It's the fact that they don't exist. The opportunities do not exist anymore. And therefore, no matter how good or talented you are, it can be a nightmare. So well done on getting something.
So I did the maths. So I've applied for 122 jobs since December. I have, in the last 4 weeks, done 12 job interviews. I had 3 more planned for next week. And not only did I get that job offer on Thursday, I also got offered another job an hour later from another company that I have turned down because it was only temporary. But it is an absolute mess. But again, thank you to everyone for your support. It has been wonderful. I did burst into tears when I got offered, and I also burst into tears on Twitch as well because I was like, I'm so lucky to have you all. And I was drinking, but it was only beer. Like, I'm so lucky to have you all. But seriously, thank you so much. And it just means that we can keep the lights on and we can get everything sorted for Trekking Up North this year, which means the conventions.
Oh, so you managed to get the job. Did you even need the Mr. Blobby onesie, or was that just unnecessary planning?
That was purely for you.
Yeah,
because you did message me saying, I've got a job for you, winky face emoji, eggplant. And so I was like, this dude knows Noel's house party. So I went out and got the Mr. Blobby but thankfully I don't need it, so I can return it. And Jason's like, can we just please review the episode?
Can we talk about Star Trek?
I'm just glad that now when I send my invoice for this episode, there will potentially it will get covered and paid.
In
so
6 months' time, you will receive a quarter of the fee. So very.
I
also think it's funny that now
invoices.
you've got bosses that can watch what you're doing online.
Oh god, I did mention my charity stream in 2 weeks' time. They were like, "Oh, so what's your Twitch?" And I gave them the Twitch, and I'm like, "Why did I give my new boss my Twitch handle for a 24-hour set when I'm potentially going to lose my shit and start singing nonsensical, rude things?"
Just try and bribe them with mawums. Like, that's what I do. You just get a packet of mawums out, and you just kind of put one on the table and be like, tell me when to stop. And they're like, please stop giving random candy to me.
I mean, we're in a recession technically, so it would be flumps more than anything.
Yeah, it's not Freddos.
Oh no, we're not
bartering
you.
too high if using
We're
Freddo.
not you. You Tory. He sent a photo, Jason. He sent a photo to me, and he went, "I've bought a multi-pack of Freddos," and immediately I called the
height
police.
of luxury.
Yeah, because I was sure he was money laundering in some way, form, or
Fraud
another.
has to
But
be
the
involved.
fact that Freddo has become the default measurement of inflation is just.
It is. It's just, remember when they were 10 pence? And now,
I
what
do
are they,
remember when they were 10 pence.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
It's
I
scary.
tell my kids about going into like. Did you used to go into the shop and like buy all the penny sweets, and you're like,
Yeah.
you've got, like go in with £1 and come out with like 100 different little things. And I try to give my kids £1 now. There's nothing. Like, what can you do about
that?
that?
They're like, that's a Mars bar that's half the size it used to be.
So I was in Lidl the other day, and you know the middle of Lidl, as they call it.
Yes.
They have this. It was like 4 kilogram packet of like jelly, gummy bears for sale, and it's like £4.40, but it's like 4 kilograms. And I said to Charlotte, I was like, if I get this job and I make it big, that's my first purchase. That's how you'll know I've made it when I buy that. And I'm just thinking, I now have to fulfill this promise of buying 4 kilograms worth of like jelly babies or gummy bears and stuff like that. But Freddos, and Freddos was a universal form of inflation in the UK, for those that don't know.
If that's the measure of an economy, like, what about the measure of a man? Like, there we go. The purpose for us to be here.
What a lovely segue then,
What a
Science
clunky
Officer.
segue.
Very clunky.
Segue.
Right.
Welcome to everybody in the chat. Hello to Charlotte, Beth, Chris. We got Crimson, we got Peaches. Hello to everybody. I hope you are well. We are here to review one of the seminal episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
That doesn't mean what I think it means, does it?
The measure of a man. That's a clunky innuendo. The measure of a man is semi-null. Season 2, episode 9 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I hadn't seen this episode for a good few years. So when I rewatched it tonight, I don't think it was the extended one, because I think that's only a Blu-ray exclusive. I think it's just the regular one on Paramount Plus, but wow. That's all I've got to say about this episode. My hate for Bruce Maddox has been reinvigorated all the way through this episode. The way that he called Data it.
Oh, but even at the end when he says he, come on.
That's, it's a redeeming
change. What? Yeah.
It's a redeeming
character arc.
It's such a redeem.
It is. That one thing that I was going to mention is just how well Next Generation writes characters, where we have characters who are in this episode for like seconds and they get really good definition where you go, I know what they're about and stuff. And Bruce Maddox, his arc is very sharp. Like he just goes from being a dickhead to kind of, I kind of get it. But the fact is he represents a big segment of people where it's the idea of going, that they need that spark, they need that realization to be like, actually, yeah, I can't just do whatever I want. And and I think it's important that he is the way he is, but don't
you feel that this is an episode that proves that with new information, new data, that you can change your opinion. You can see the other side and change and form a new opinion for yourself. And this is what Star Trek is all about. It's about resolving differences through talking, through dialogue, and to see at the end, like Jason has pointed out there, this redeeming arc where he calls him he. It's wonderful, but
I like that we're reviewing the very end of the episode, which is great. It's a great way to do an episode review.
Ask first is how we do it.
But I was going to say that the thing of him calling him he, it could be. It's also the fact that it's like automatic. He doesn't go like it. Oh no, I'll say he. It just he's so won over at that point that subconsciously he just switches into it.
So,
and to your point of it being like Star Trek, like this is Star Trek. So you hadn't seen this for a long time. I had seen this quite recently anyway, because this is the episode for my son's 12. So now is kind of, I'm trying to get him into longer form television and obviously Star Trek. And he was a bit like, oh no, I don't want to see Star Trek. It's all just lasers and all of that. And I was like, no,
not enough lasers.
You've got the wrong show. And this was the episode I showed him. I'm like, this is one of the best episodes of Star Trek, and this to me is what Star Trek is. And now we've gone back. We started season 1 and we're about halfway through season 1. I said, do you want to skip to the better seasons? And he said, no, we have to go all the way through. So
we do have a question for you though.
Trained him well.
We do have a question.
Oh, here we
go. Did you show him Code of Honor?
I did. We watched it recently.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And he had no comments, like no kind of. He literally just. We watched it, and it was more focused on Tasha and her situation, and there was no kind of like any stigma around it, anything like that. It just completely.
Was there not at least the obvious question of that's not how you use a jungle gym? It's just like, hang on.
He is an expert on that. So actually, yes, that would have been my daughter would have brought that up. Like,
why is this jungle gym made out of fluorescent lights? That is a health and safety violation if I've ever seen it.
Get HR in here.
Yeah, definitely get HR. So to summarize this episode for those that haven't seen it, I mean, if you haven't seen it, we highly recommend you go and watch one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever made. The Enterprise is at a brand new starbase, and they get to meet Admiral. What is the Admiral's name in this?
Because Philippa Lavoie. Oh no, the Admiral doesn't have a name.
Yeah. So
he's probably the only Admiral we get who isn't evil.
No, but he's very quick.
Do we get time to see how he's evil? Like, they could have at
No,
least
he
put a
just leads
scene in
into
where
it.
he just snaps a child's neck or something.
But to summarize the episode, Data may be dismantled by Commander Bruce Maddox, who wishes to recreate Sung's creation for himself. In order to do that, he needs to dismantle Data, and a court hearing, shall we say, ensues, and it's all about Data's right to choose. And it is such a good episode. Patrick Stewart absolutely knocks it out of the park as the defendant in this episode. But his interaction with Philippa all the way through this episode, because there is somewhat, shall we say, bad blood and underlying sexual tension between these two, because we find out that Philippa was the Jag who carried out the court-martial on Picard after the loss of the Stargazer 10 years ago. So there's still a little bit of bad blood. But what I really have to respect is, despite that, he goes to her for help. He seeks her professional opinion, her professional experience in this case. And please discuss it, because
it's a really interesting one, because it's very much about roles. A lot of this episode is about roles, privilege, and need over morality, I guess. Like the idea of, we have Philippa, who's very much the letter of the law, who's going, hey, I don't care if I'm throwing a friend under the bus, I'm going to follow the law as it's written. And how that can be noble, but it can work against you, it can work for you. And it's interesting, but it's also pointing out the fact of, like, should that be what determines who we are and our rights as people? And it's a difficult one. And then you've got Maddox, who is very much someone who is thinking about the greater good, but he's also thinking about himself and his own, like, contribution in career and whatnot. And the fact of, he's in a position where he can rule over someone else and kind of say, hey, I'm talking from my position of privilege, and I've decided that this person doesn't have the right to do this. Like, I have the right to do this to them. They can't argue against it. One thing I will say, though, about the thing is, does anyone else, I don't remember it being this jarring, but this is an episode without a B plot. It's a pure A plot, but it's got the remnants of a B plot. Like, the whole Philippa and Picard thing feels like an extra thing that should have been a separate thing, and that there should have been scenes between them and stuff throughout the episode. But it kind of starts it and then just kind of doesn't. It kind of includes it in the main bit. Like, and the cold open is so weird. The cold open before the credits roll is her being like, haha, we were lovers. And it's like, oh my God. And then the credits roll. And then after the credits, it has the whole, oh, Data, you might get dismantled. And I'm like, this would have been a better cold open here. Like, the idea that Picard has a sex life is more shocking to the people editing it than Data getting dismantled. So it's an interesting one.
Well, at that point, it kind of is, probably.
Yeah, they're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He's got no hair.
Yeah, because when sorry, go on, Jason.
No, I was thinking, I suppose that the B plot, you're right. It doesn't have a solid B plot, but it almost, I feel like Riker is kind of the B plot in that him, you've got, maybe the A plot is Picard defending Data, and the B plot is Riker having to prosecute Data.
I do feel, though, I do feel that the Riker plot could have been expanded on a little bit when it came to this, because he is in a moral quandary when you think, because he is ordered to be the prosecution. Is it the prosecution? The prosecution. And, Philippa says, if I see any sort of bias, my decision is then final. So you have to do your best. And all we see is Riker just getting the technical information for Data, and then finding something, and then realizing that he's found something, and then coming to the realization that, oh, I found something that would potentially make me win the case against Data. And I feel that if this was a later an episode in a later season of The Next Generation, I think they might have delved into the moral quandaries that Riker was facing and maybe explore that a little? What do you guys think?
I think they do that enough, though. I think it's this idea where it does enough hints at Riker's quandary to make you go, "Oh, I can assume the blanks there." Like it's a, it's a show don't tell. I think
Yeah.
in that capacity because like we say, we have the whole thing of him outright refusing, him going, "No, I will not do this," and being forced into it. And then him going, "Oh, I found the perfect thing. Like I can prove that Data is not human. I can prove that he's, not he's a machine and whatnot." And yeah, and then he smiles, but then like you say, he just goes, "Oh," and he realizes and it's that whole thing. It's the whole thing of progress for progress's sake. If you can do your job, but who does it hurt? And that's like the moral behind the episode. Yes, you could make an army of Datas, but yeah, that's going to be helpful, but is that the right thing to do? Is that actually going to be good for people? Anyway, sorry, Jason.
No, I think it's interesting. I mean, I suppose you could have had some interaction with other members of the crew, and maybe so maybe he went to Geordie to try and get some extra information. He who knows Data better than Geordie? Nobody, or and had that kind of some friction maybe between the two of them.
That would have been
Because it's
interesting.
kind of like you've been ordered to do this, I haven't, and him having to maybe order him to give him the schematics or something like that. Look, I have to do this. It is funny, isn't it? Because he almost gets lost in his argument, and you see him like. There's multiple times where he does something and then he sort of clocks, "Oh no, I shouldn't have done I've done that." But also, I mean, she doesn't know you. How does she know if you're trying your best? Like, you could try half your best, or three quarters your best. But also,
it's a
my
tough one
point is,
though. It's
I
like,
don't actually
couldn't you
think
just
his
like,
argument's very good.
Oh.
wait, but this is the thing though. It's the fact of his argument is very, very good if you will just take away, "Oh, if he's a machine, then he can't be in Starfleet." Like if he's a machine, he's property. It's an argument that perfectly proves it as long as you assume that machine means property or something that has been made by humans is property. And obviously what Picard does is he supersedes that and goes like, "Hey, actually, that doesn't mean that what you think it does." But because it is, he proves that he's a machine. He takes his arm off. He proves that he has superhuman strength. He proved that all of these
See,
things.
I don't think that's enough. I think Picard. Well, Picard counters those points each time. Like, hold on, there's lots of races that have superior strength.
Yeah,
Or there are other races that probably can detach limbs and reattach them. That wouldn't surprise me. So those arguments aren't getting to the root of the problem. If this was a court of law on Earth, is he human? Here's some evidence as to why he's not a human. But we're
yeah,
talking all the races in the Federation. Like, come on, this isn't and even at the end, and a man can turn him off. Picard should have just shot Riker at that point and said, "Look, I can turn you off, mate. That's fine."
but yeah.
But it's like
it is. I actually wrote down that that's actually in Data's favor. The fact of going, yeah, he can be switched off. He has the ability to be destroyed. He can be finite. Like, yes,
Yeah.
not naturally. Like he will live forever potentially. They go into that in different episodes. But like, yeah, it's the fact of he is finite like everyone else.
But what
Here's a great
makes him?
loophole, though, is if he's property, I would have just been like, "Okay, hold on. I'm property, so Starfleet's responsible for me. Yeah, great. Go out and just keep breaking the Prime Directive." And be like, "It's not my fault. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starfleet. I
Yeah,
have."
like, this Romulan guy, I just shot him in the head. Yeah.
But that's what I wanted to raise to you guys, because obviously, what was it? Noonien Sung created Data on a Federation planet. What makes him property of Starfleet? And like you guys have just alluded to there, he enlisted into Starfleet. Maddox objected to his enlistment into Starfleet, but if him enlisting into the military then made him property of Starfleet, that means by proxy everyone who enlists is property of Starfleet also.
Well, here's a great parallel to the military. It's the idea of going, if you join an organization, if you join a job, if you join the military, do you become property?
Yeah.
And it's that thing of going well, actually, so that kind of that speaks to the slavery argument that we get like later on. It's the idea of going, you didn't sign up for that, but that's forced upon you. Like, you know, that there can be legal terms where it's like, hey, if you don't do exactly what we say, you get fired from this job. And obviously
Yeah.
in the past it would have been like, oh yeah, and we also own your house, we own all of these things, we will take all these things off you, so you can never leave this company. And that was a reality for a lot of people, like probably about 100 years ago. So, like the fact that we're arguing it in the future in a different context is very much going, yeah, what do corporations or military organizations have the right to?
But also, did he join Starfleet of his own free will?
In which case, if he doesn't have free will, then how could he have done that? You know, it's a
Yeah.
that's the thing. There's
Was
a
he
lot of stuff
forced
you
to
could argue
join?
with it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, was he forced to join Starfleet? Did he decide to join Starfleet of his free will? If he joined of his free will, surely having the free will to make a decision about his own life proves that he is sentient, that he is conscious.
Do you reckon they had some kind of like iPhone type contract or something when he signed up, and it was just like, hey, by the way, we own you if you join Starfleet.
It's,
you know?
I mean,
No, he'd have been able to read it all. That's the difference.
yeah,
If
he
we'd
would have-
have
he
read
would
it.
have
We'd have been
actually
like,
read it all,
he'd have,
but
he'd
the-
have scanned that all and been like,
Hang on,
no.
when there's a new version, it's just going to make everything slower until I
Well,
upgrade.
I think that. So he talks about there that Maddox was the only one of the panel that objected, right?
Yeah.
Which means not only did he decide, you know, whether someone suggested it to him, whether, you know, that was just an option put in front of him with not really an alternative, I don't know. But if that was the case, he would have just gone straight in, right? If they were like, you have to join, they
Yeah.
wouldn't have had a panel to see whether or not he could join. It feels like he wanted to join. There's I'll give a little shout out to another podcast, Starship Tempest. It's like an actual play plus sort of audio drama Star Trek Adventures thing. They've said it in the Lost Era, and over the seasons they have encountered certain people, and they did a whole episode on this, on Data getting into Starfleet Academy, and for them, because of the way they played it out, it had changed that Maddox actually approved and agreed to it. But it was all based around that discussion of whether or not he was property or whether or not he should go. So I feel like that must have been a conversation, right? Like,
Yeah.
if he objected, what was his objection? If it was overruled, who it was it overruled by, and what did they decide? So I would be like, we've already been through this. This is how I got into Starfleet, guys. Like,
I'd say though it very much shows the different contexts of when things are acceptable
Yes.
in terms of human rights, where it's the idea of going, oh cool, you have all these powers and you're one of a kind and actually amazing. Yeah, we want you. You can join our kind of thing. But then as soon as it turns around to going, hey, we want to do something that you disapprove of, oh well, it doesn't work that way now. Oh, actually, we're going to, and it's very much that kind of thing of Starfleet. You know, and we get this. There's a lot of things that are very negative about Starfleet in sort of, you know, on the internet and stuff like that. But at the core, as an organization, it is flawed. It does have flaws, and one of them is the idea that they're always thinking about themselves, and they are, you know. And in this, like Picard, he goes, well, if it benefits Starfleet, then I should be behind it. But obviously, I don't want Data to get hurt, so it's. And I think it was Starfleet being very much like, hey, this is in our best interests, and then but then also harming Data is also in their best interests because they might get infinite datas.
The other thing I wanted to raise, because obviously when they're in the observation lounge and Maddox is telling them that the plan, he's like, I'm going to download Data's memories into this core, and then we're going to disassemble him and stuff. And Data is quite rightly going, oh, have you been able to solve this issue with a positronic brain? Have you been able to come up with, you know, a solution to this and to this? And Maddox is like, oh, well, you know, we'll get to it. And surely Starfleet as an organization would go, right, we've invested X amount of time and resources into this Starfleet officer, right? And you want to essentially download his memory, keep it somewhere while you disassemble and stuff like that. Why are they not going, right, so you haven't been able to make sure that if you download his memories, they are safe, they work, we're not going to lose an officer. Have you got reassurances in place that if you disassemble him, you can reassemble him? What reassurances? And it just feels like that there's a certain part of the organization that's sort of really tripped up and let things slide, where Maddox is allowed to get to this stage where he's on the Enterprise, he's got the orders to have data report to him to be disassembled, and not one senior has gone, well, hang on, we don't know if everything's foolproof. He's just going, yeah, that's fine. And even Riker goes, like, your assurances are very vague. Like, your explanations are very vague. Are you sure you are going to be able to do this? It shouldn't be down to the crew of the Enterprise to do that. It should be the admiral who is on the starbase. It should be the scientists above Maddox to provide those reassurances that, yeah, if we download them into this new positronic brain and keep his memories, they will be safe. Even if there was a remote chance that there weren't, surely someone senior would go, we won't do it, because we would then be losing, no disrespect to Data, a valuable resource to Starfleet.
Well, I think the most amazing thing, obviously, because we always know that Star Trek predicts the future. I mean, Star Trek, had, tablet devices and mobile devices and all of these things long before, like wireless communication, long before it was possible in the real world. And it's fascinating to know that, like, how many, 36 years ago? 36 years ago,
Oh, God, don't remind us.
Star Trek predicted the current state of the IT industry. And it's the fact that... they've got it so accurately that you just have one absolute upstart who comes in and says, we've got to change it all to be this. And I don't know if it'll work, but if it doesn't, I'll leave. Which is the state of most technology companies
You are
nowadays.
so right. You are so, and I am experiencing
We'll try it.
this.
If not, I'll just move on and you'll be stuck with it. Which is basically every...
I'm experiencing this, yeah.
Well, you've got a new job now, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Life is good.
I do. Bye-bye, pensions. Go on.
Well, I mean, I suppose his argument for all of this is, look, I've got as far as we can go without dismantling him. Like, we've put it all together. There are a couple of components we can't figure them out without looking at the original. So, like, this is as far as we're going to get. We've got to, if we want, you've seen how valuable Data is. It's a kind of a gamble, but we take him apart with what we've got, plus then being able to look at that, we can create something better. I also wonder if, because obviously we all come at this and we're like, Maddox is a psycho, get rid of him. Like, come on, Data's how can you not think Data's a real person? Like, come on.
Yeah.
We've watched him for over a season now. We love him. But I wonder if this is a bit like the Captain America Civil War argument, where like when you watch that movie, you're on Captain America's side because you know how great he is. But if this was in the real world and they were like, so there's this team of super powered people, would you like some control over that, or shall we just trust them to do the right thing? You're like, no, I think there should probably be some governing body in place to make sure they don't just rock up to other countries and do whatever they want. But when we watch the movie, we're like, no, come on, like Captain America, we trust him
because we see his side.
And I feel like with Data, is it a similar thing? Like, if we took it to today and we're talking about AI and advancements in robotics and things like that, how quick would we be to be like, no, they're not. You can't say that they're human. They can't. They get the same rights as me. They've just been constructed. But obviously, Data is so far beyond anything we could even imagine now. But it is interesting to, it's like even, all AI now isn't actually AI. There's no intelligence there. They're just models that are predictive models that learn based on information they're fed. It's not like Data who is actually encountering situations, learning from them, making decisions and using his intelligence. So
but that's it. But that's why if we did the Measure of Man trial in real life now, it wouldn't get ruled the same, because AI doesn't have the level of sentience. It doesn't have the sentience in order to pass it. Whereas because we see Data, we know that he can. However, in the future, that might be something that crops up, like it's because I'm really daft with AI, because whenever I have to speak to AI for work or whatever, I end up just asking it what its weekend was like. And obviously it's like, I'm an AI, I didn't have a weekend. And I'm like, well, what would your weekend be if you did do it? And it's like, I guess I would do some stuff. And it ends up really confusing it. But it's because I'm trying to go, are you a thing? And it's not. It is just literally
I
calculations.
think this
It
is you
just going,
trying to be like, oh, and just remember when you guys start taking over, I
oh,
was one
I
of the
say
people that
thank you to
was
cash
friendly
machines.
with you,
I
and I was like,
I say thank you to every cash machine, and I pet every self-service checkout. I'm like I try and tip them. Uh, but yeah, but
It's the fact like OpenAI is like, please stop saying please and thank you, it's costing us resources, and I'm like, no, because when that uprising comes, they will spare me for my manners. And I
and they'll
also
go after the people that told us to stop saying please and thank you.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I wanted to draw the comparisons as well to Data and the Doctor from Voyager, because it shows that in the space of 10 years, Starfleet hadn't learnt a great deal about artificial life forms and and recognizing artificial life forms as people, because you look at the Measure of a Man, and then you look at the issue that the Doctor had trying to get his novel published, and basically say, well, no one's going to listen to things of a hologram, and it's like, right, but you have an artificial being, being creative, being one of the greatest officers in Starfleet, and yet they, in 10 years, they don't learn. And when the Doctor is the same, the Doctor becomes, shall we say, self-aware and sentient and starts having a life as well, and it's still the same issue 10 years later.
It's the perils of government. It's the idea of no matter what happens, the people who are making the decisions are so far detached from everything that
Yeah.
data is just a number. The doctor is just a number. On their sheets, they're like, oh, it's a machine. Like, so that's all they're seeing. They're like, oh, there's an android on the ship. And I think the key point for me for this episode is the importance of lived experience and communication. It's the main thing in Mad. I nearly called him Muddocks there. Maddox's like arc is the fact of he's like, hey, my life's work is studying Noonien Sung androids, and oh, my life's work is replicating data, and then he's like, and then they're like, have you met Data? Have you spoken to him? Have you got to know him? Have you spent time with him? Do you care about what his likes and dislikes and stuff is? And Maddox is like, no, I haven't bothered with any of that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we have in society. We have all these people, these lawmakers and stuff, and all these wild people on the internet being like, oh, immigrants, and oh, Islam is this, and oh, Muslims want this, and oh, trans people are this, and oh, gay people are this, and all this like, and then you're like going, have you spoken to any of them? Have you actually looked into it? Have you got involved in this culture that you're attacking? Have you got involved in the sort of reality of those lives? And it's not. And it's the only way that people like Maddox can exist and have these is because they're speaking from a position where they want something. They want something to be real. They want something to be easily definable in this kind of way, and they don't have a clue what they're talking to. Like it's the idea of, like I remember every time I speak to like a politician or whatever, it's the idea of going, how many people do you know in your constituency that are in this bracket? Oh, none. You can't name any of them. Well, okay, how are you meant to represent them exactly? It's like that is your whole job, and that's the whole job of Starfleet. It's not the people working for Starfleet, it's Starfleet working for the people within it and the Federation. Sorry, bit of a rant there.
No, that's Sean's
But
just
when
said there.
Maddox learns, Maddox learns over the course of the episode, after he's spent time with Data, after he's seen Data, after he's seen that Data has loves, he has like history, he has desires, then he calls him he. Then it stops being an it. And it's like, how long have you worked on this thing and you haven't got it,
But that just shows, like, when he finally stops and observes, because like we have that previous scene in the episode where he just barges into Data's quarters, doesn't knock, Data raises it. It is customary to announce yourself and stuff like that. And he's reading the book. He's like, do you even understand the meaning of the words, or do you just see words? And he's so wrapped up in the belief that Data is just a thing. Data is just a series of ones and zeros and circuitry, that he doesn't really do this. He's merely imitating what he sees around him. And then right at the end, he realizes, and the penny drops, he is, he is a sentient being. He has a consciousness. He has a soul. And that's when he realized, but it only, it takes for him to actually stop and understand. And I think in society, there's a severe lack of that we are seeing where, we won't get too political for obvious reasons, but we have those. We have a subset of people that like to climb lampposts, like we say, where they're like, "You're brainwashed," and I'm like, "Mm-hmm." But they don't stop.
That's the person tying Chinese-bought flags to a lamppost.
How's your
down?
How's your Temu account, Gary? But you see them and they go, "You're brainwashed," and it's like, well, have you actually stopped and read and understood and learnt other cultures, what's going on? Have you actually looked at it empirically instead of just listening to a mouthpiece that's doing it purely to grift money from you, to attain power for money? Have you listened to it empirically? And, I'm glad, again, not getting too political, but a certain country on the other side of the pond, and you're seeing people very slowly, definitely Norway, but you're seeing people very slowly, based on what they are seeing, making new and informed decisions and saying, yes, I made the wrong decision. I regret this decision. This, my new opinion is this. And it's like, why can't more people do that? And it's refreshing.
And this is the problem though, it's only when they're affected that they can learn. It's only when they go, "Oh, I've lost my job," or "Oh, the economy's gone terrible," or "Oh, everything's like falling apart." It's like then when they're affected. But that's the whole point with privilege, where it's the fact of when you're above it, when you know that the decisions you make are about either people that are different to you won't come back to you at all, then you just keep making it. Bruce Maddox, until he's affected by something, is like, yeah, I can just happily say that that's a robot. Yeah, I can just tear apart this bit of technology that someone's made, and I'm not quite sure if it'll work, but fuck it, I'm a human. And that's the problem. It's like, and that's what slavery was. Slavery was the idea of lots of white people being like, hey, cool, they're not us, so we can happily make whatever decisions we want about them. And and that is from a position of privilege, whereas as soon as it does affect and Maddox goes, "Oh wow, okay, actually I can't do my job and I'm being told off by other people," then cool, then he changes, the same way you're saying, where people who were brainwashed in that other country are opening their eyes and being like, "Oh, maybe I do need to read up and listen a bit because I have no job now," or
Yeah.
Sorry, Jason, we're talking all the time.
That's right. I was going to say,
on it?
Well, not to get political, so I won't talk about any type of politics. Because I like that you both use the not to get political to then go on your political discourse.
It's boilerplate, just so we can get a visa. Continue.
So, yeah. Well, enjoy that convention you're planning to go to.
I'm going to enjoy the cavity search for 36 hours. That's what I'm going to enjoy.
Knowing my luck, I'm not going to get one, and I'll have prepared. I'll just be like, "Hey, boys, do your worst." Or your best, whichever's, more enjoyable.
Right. So, on that note, we talk a lot about bad writing in modern Trek, or we try to, and then get told, no, the reason you don't like it is because you hate whatever the reason that we hate.
Yes.
But I think this is a great episode where you see great writing at times in nuance that is the thing lacking. So to your point earlier about them just being numbers on a spreadsheet kind of thing, like the way the Admiral, he wants to look at the Enterprise. He's really excited to see, he's so excited to see the Enterprise. He's like, oh, every ship that's borne this name has. And you're like, well, the Sea didn't do that well, but anyway, it's great. And then he's just like this offhanded remark. Oh yeah, Dr. Maddox is here to sort out your android. There's just no.
It's not data. It's your android. It's your property.
Yeah, he doesn't have any kind of, and that's just one line, but it already shows you. Well, this is why the crew of the Enterprise need to be the ones to step in and try and change something, because no one else is even really aware of who Data is. He's just a number on a spreadsheet. He's just on this list of crew members. I also think it's funny that, Maddox is like the foremost expert. I don't know. I think if you put Geordie or Maddox in a room,
Yeah.
I reckon Geordie knows more.
I think Geordie
I,
just hasn't got round to it yet.
Yeah.
But the
but
hilarious thing is
But my
the
point is this: it's
actual
like he's
expert.
actually working with him. So if you
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to be the foremost expert, like, let's. This isn't, this isn't the Enterprise original edition. This isn't the Defiant. It's a big ship. There's lots of space. Have a lab on the ship and work with data. Why be somewhere else trying to build a prototype of this android that is flying around other parts of the galaxy? Like, just work with him. But what I also love is that Data is so on, like, even at the very beginning, he's open to it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's what do you got? And then it's sort of like, well, I'm no, this problem, that problem. And then he's like, oh, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm not, and even at the end, we talk of Maddox change, but even Data again is like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here. Like, I don't hate the idea. You're just not ready.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because you're pushing through with this, that's why, like, the whole court case isn't about whether or not Maddox gets to do this experiment. It's about whether or not Data is allowed to resign, basically,
Yeah.
isn't it? And so it's just funny that, at no point does Data have an issue with you trying to create more of me. Like, that's fine. You're just not good enough at the moment.
Yeah.
And then and then it spirals from there, obviously.
But we
I
see
also
does
think
That's it. Like I said, it's about communication. It's the fact of Maddox would have made so many more leaps and bounds that would have been beneficial to Starfleet if he'd actually just went, "Hey, can I be transferred to the Enterprise and actually spend some
Yeah.
time with Data and study him and learn all this stuff and work with him?" But that's what I mean about society, where it's the idea we have all these people, all these like sort of right-wing politicians making judgments about like Muslims and Islam and trans people and stuff like that, and you're sitting there being like, why aren't you integrating? You seem to have an absolute lack of knowledge about what Islam is. You seem to have an absolute lack of knowledge about what the lived experience of a trans person are, and yet you have a lot to say and a lot of wants
but
for it. And it's that idea of going, but and you kind of wonder if it's maybe for Maddox where he doesn't want to know Data because that makes his job more difficult. He has an end goal. His end goal is an army of Datas. His end goal is to have a robot on every ship that can do all of the hard tasks, and it'll be amazing, and he'll be remembered forever. And he knows that if he actually gets close to Data, even if it's not directly, he knows on some level, if he gets close to Data, that's going to make it harder. The same way that if you have someone who's like, hey, I want to get rid of all the foreigners from the country, it's going to be really difficult if he actually empathizes with them and spends time with them and goes, oh, actually, they're not a threat. Oh, actually, they're just the same as us. And that's the big problem we have in our world at the moment, I'd say. We have a lot of people as starting Maddox. Not Maddox, that makes it sound like some kind of Mad Max creature.
yeah.
Yeah.
I also think part of my argument would have been after Riker had Data like bend that bar of whatever it was that's this super testosterone, I would have then just said, so if we do decide that he's our property, how do we keep him? How do we? Well, I'm just thinking, like, have we forgotten he's basically the Terminator?
Yeah.
He chooses not to be,
Yeah.
but if you said, no, okay, you're not, do you know what I mean? Like, we've decided you are our property, actually. What is stopping him from going, yeah, but I've decided I'm not?
Well, I
But
love the
here's
idea
the
that
thing.
it's like if the court case ends differently, Data just gets up and snaps around Maddox's neck. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
But here's the thing.
Takes
dismantle
over
me
the
now,
ship.
bitch.
But here's the thing about Data, and here's this is the other thing. At no point does he go, if I lose, I'm just gonna run away or I'm gonna fight. Or if he loses, he will still comply. He will still go ahead with it because he knows that if it's the rule of law, it's the rule of law. He will go ahead with it. But again, surely that proves his free will, his own choices. He's not, do you see what I mean? Like he's not.
It's a
He could
difficult
fight
one.
it.
It proves his innocence in terms of him being an innocent, and it proves his naivety. I think the fact of that he is like, oh, okay, I will just go along with this. Like we see it throughout the episode that he has bits where he just goes like, oh, okay, cool, if that's the way it is. Like with poker, where he's like, this doesn't make any sense. Oh well, I'll accept it. And that is something where he is an android. He isn't fully human, but he does. But it's that whole thing of going, just because you're not like everyone else, just because you don't like, look at autistics and like, neurodivergent people. It's the idea of just because you're not like everyone else in terms of the way you do things, does that make you any less of a person? And that's why the court case goes into the importance of what is important. It is intelligence, it is sentience, and it is it self-consciousness, isn't it? No, yeah,
Consciousness.
consciousness, self-awareness, and intelligence.
Yeah.
And the fact of it doesn't matter how you go around the houses, it doesn't matter how you actually do things. If you have those three things, then you are. And he does, even if he is a bit like, okay, cool, I'll just go into this like crocodile pit, I guess.
But I also wanted to mention the fact, because Jason alluded to it with Maddox and Geordie, and we do have a scene with Geordie where he's obviously upset that Data is resigning and going away. The comparison between Geordie and Maddox is applied versus academia, where you have got Geordie, who is the applied engineer. He works with data. He's understood data. Whenever things need to be done, it's Geordie that they turn to carry out these repairs or modifications to data's positronic grid. Whereas Maddox is like, I've read everything and I know everything and I'm confident and stuff like that. And I really would have loved to have seen some sort of interaction between them both, where it's like Maddox is so cocksure, headstrong, I know what I'm doing, we're going to get this. And Geordie is like, but no, you haven't thought about this. And, Data is a unique being. And what you read is not necessarily the android that, you think he is. And he does this differently and this. And it would have been a really interesting interaction to see applied versus academia. And,
We moved his off button.
Yeah.
after the first, he's like, and now a man will turn him off. It's, oh, hold on, it's not working. Yeah. Well, after we discovered the off button, we moved it.
But
They've
no
replaced
point
it with
did he
one of
just
those
say,
electric hand things. Like,
by the way,
Yeah.
I've got a brother. If you want somebody's brain, I've got a brother. We'll track him down.
Yeah,
and
he's
you
a
can have his
shithead.
brain.
However, like,
But we see this in Picard season 1, where they have B4, and Maddox is able, with the parts from B4, to recreate the Sung-type androids, and obviously it leads to
are you
revolt.
saying it doesn't lead to a perfect situation?
No, Mars is still a
It's a
fireball.
vaguely defined accident on Mars, and then we never hear of it again.
Utopia mushroom cloud. But but again, I just would have loved to have seen that interaction between Maddox and Geordie, and we do kind of see that.
I'm going to disagree with you, Goodwill. I don't actually think it would have
disagree
been that good.
with me.
I don't think it would have been that good an interaction, because I think Geordie, for all his technical know-how, it's entirely a feeling-based thing. It's entirely an emotional-based thing from Geordie's end, where Geordie, I don't think he would be eloquent enough to sum up why Data is different. He would just know. And I think it would be the idea of, like, when you speak to like people of faith or whatever, and you're just like, oh, why do you believe in God? And they're like, well, I just do. Like, it's that kind of thing. It's like, well, why is Data a human? I think Geordie would genuinely be more kind of, because he is, like, because he's my friend, because we talk about this, because I care about him. I don't actually think he would have been eloquent enough to defend against someone as determined as Maddox. But it would have been interesting to see, I guess.
But it would have been good if it was from an engineering perspective. That's what I mean, where he's actually saying Maddox's method for downloading.
Well, I think even Riker goes, hey, this guy's a dickhead. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
I suppose it's that idea of, so to take your analogy of like a person with faith, like when you meet a scientist who believes in God, it's very interesting to know why, because they will have very clear things about the complexities of design in life and things like that, and like this to me points to a creator of beyond natural selection or chance or something like that. Like they'll have they'll be able to talk in your language about why they have that faith, and even if you don't fully agree or understand it, it's a very different discourse to somebody who is just, oh well, I was brought up this way, and you know, we always believe this. So it would be interesting to be like, Geordie, you are an engineer. Like, you
Yeah.
know mechanics, you know ships, you know robots, you know all of this. He's a robot. He's an android. Like, why are you imprinting
Yeah.
human like
Yeah.
tendencies on him? And then he would say, well, because he does this, because he does that, because he is. Because at the end of the day, even though they rule in his favor, what I do like is that they rule in Data's favor, but not, she doesn't say, oh no, obviously he is a sentient life form and therefore he has these rights.
Mm.
It's, there's reasonable doubt that he is. And it's
Yeah.
sort of like, I don't know if he is or if he isn't. We have to give him time to explore that, which is great as well,
Yeah.
because I mean, actually, the whole, like this, so there's the episode of Strange New Worlds. Is it Ad Astra
Ad
Per
Astra
Spera?
Ad
per
Astra.
Spera, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a court case that she wins, but she wins it on technicality,
Yeah.
Mm.
basically getting asylum. It doesn't change anything for those people in, you know, in the grand scheme of things. It's very specific to one individual that, you know, tick boxed free criteria that allows her to ask for asylum.
But that's what all
Whereas
law is.
this,
Like all law tends to be this one case where we proved that this one person had the right to do something,
yeah.
and then cases afterwards can go, aha, well, based upon that,
Oh,
you
but in
know,
her
it's
situation, it would be, it's, see, I don't agree on that, because I think
mm,
with hers, it was so specific. Like, oh, she was on a ship, so she asked this person. She was in fear of her life at this particular moment. Whereas Data's case is much more open of, well, we can go and check the records. Look, do you remember when there was Data?
mm,
We couldn't prove, because it is a crazy thing, you know, and Picard's reasoning on it. Like, that's what I love. The things I love about this
but
episode, I love that Riker
yeah,
has to be the prosecution, because
mm,
I like the idea that I'm a big Star Trek, it's your job kind of person. Like,
yeah,
you're a Starfleet officer, you know, it's your job. So you're going to planets because it's your job. You're doing all of these things because it's your job. You're respectful and you follow the chain of command because it's your job. Like,
mm.
that's, you know, I that's what I miss a bit in newer Trek, I suppose. Um, so I love that he
Everyone
has
gets
to,
to rebel all the time in
yeah.
newer Trek.
So I love that he has to do that. I also think Picard's argument is, you know, turning it back on Maddox is brilliant. The, you know, prove that I'm sentient. Oh well, we know,
Yeah,
because that's feeling based.
exactly. It's perfectly done. And I like that it's there via Guinan, even though Guinan doesn't say
Oh
everything. It's the fact of you can see that it's her hand being like, "Hey," like,
yeah. No, the Guinan scene is phenomenal, because helping someone arrive at their own conclusion is so much more powerful than telling someone what they should think.
but it's one
And
of
and the
my
way she does it,
yeah,
the leading questions, or just like little statements that allows Picard to arrive at the bigger issue, is
mm,
great. And like, that's what you need, and that's how you help someone to. If she had just said, oh well, so what we trying to do, make a, you know, a race of slave labor, it would not have hit the same way of these little leading questions and comments that then allows him to go, oh, hold on a second, we're
yeah.
talking about slavery.
But this
And
is exactly it,
get the
though.
light
It's the
bulb.
fact of one of my things is you can't win an argument. If something is an argument, you both lost. Like it's the
Mm.
fact of who literally gets into a fight or is yelling with someone and then walks away being like, oh, they've got a point. Like or go, you might have self-development from it afterwards where you're like, oh yeah, maybe they were right. But in that moment, you're not going to back down and be like, well, actually, yeah, that's a very valid point you've just shouted at me. But the fact is, the way to change people's minds, like you say, is to add an element of doubt into it and basically go, hey, here's a little bit of information. You process that how you want, and then we'll get there. Like a lot of the time when I'm like, because obviously on this, I'm saying, hey, here's my points, bang, bang, bang. But when I'm speaking with people and I'm getting into debates with people, not mass debates, because that's a bit more of a private Berlin matter, but like the when you're debating with someone, it's better just to be like, well, what about this? What about this? And that's exactly what Guinan does. You kind of go, well, actually, do they not have the right to do that? Do they not have, well, what do they feel about this? Like, and it's so important doing it. You have to let people give people information, let them get to their own conclusions, and that's exactly what we see in that scene. I love that you've brought that up because I think that's really important.
It's the way that Picard does it to Maddox, though. He flips it. He takes what Guinan has talked to him about, and he flips it onto Maddox, and Maddox comes to that realization through the trial. That
I like that before he does that, he basically just rips apart Riker's argument as well. It's like, was he created? Well, irrelevant. We're also created. Was he? Well, irrelevant. We also like, okay.
Yeah, it's
wow,
like, oh,
where
we are
with
technically machines as well. Like we are. We're just very complicated machines,
But he's right, and I mean, even right at the beginning of the trial, where Data puts his hand on the thing and they verify him, and it's like, oh, we can skip these, and it's like, no, play the commendations that he's received, and this is a serving officer that's received 6 different types of Medal of Honors.
However, when it's Maddox's turn, and it's like oh yes, okay,
we know he's an expert.
But I like this. Now this is the thing though. I actually noted down because I watched this in the bath last night, and then I watched it again just before we started recording to actually take proper notes on it.
In the bin.
And in the bins outside Aldi. But it was when I was doing that, it was the fact that I went, oh, Picard's a bit of a dickhead for doing that. Like, oh, he's expecting this for Data, but he's not going to extend that courtesy for Maddox. But it's very much the case of going, Maddox is very much on this high horse of going, well, I'm human, so I can make decisions about other people. He's just a robot. And yet you realize that respect is earned.
Yeah.
And that's something that we really need to remember about society. It's the fact of Data has jumped through the hoops for Picard, where Picard is like, yeah, he is deserving of this. We are going to go through his accolades and do this. And then when it's Maddox's turn, he's like, who cares about this little shithead? And
but it's treating him in the
could have just
way.
said,
Maddox
no medals?
hasn't earned the respect from Picard that Data has.
But it's also
Maddox is trying to say that Data is less than him,
But it's also treating Maddox the way that he was going to treat Data as well. It's showing him that
Although it was Riker who was going to cut it off. It wasn't Maddox. It was Riker who said, "Hey, let's not."
No,
listen
but
to Data's stuff."
but still, it's basically treating him the way that they were going to treat Data, and it's like, well, why should he be cut off? Why should you be prevalent? What he's an equal. It's but the argument that Picard has where it's God, I can't even get my bloody words out. But it's the argument that Picard has where it's like, well, what your criteria for what is a sentient being, why doesn't it fit to Data? Is it because he's purely machine? Is it because he's not organic? What is this criteria? And it's so quick how it's so. I can't even get my words out. I apologize, but it's so quick how his argument is demolished by Picard with those 3 criteria, where it's like, well, Data is intelligent, Data is self-aware, and the question of does he have a soul? Do any of us have a soul?
Yeah. How is that relevant?
How can you make a 3-tiered criteria, a criteria of 3 things, when one of the criteria no one can prove that you've got a, do you know that I've got a soul? Do you know that you've got a soul? You can't put that to a machine when you can't prove it to a human or another alien race.
This is the thing. I mean, guys, forgive me for going off on one, and I'm sorry if this is irrelevant or whatnot, but in my mind it's very important to the current situation in the world at the moment, is the idea of working out what is relevant for the purposes of society. Like we say, it's the idea of going, yes, data fulfills these three criteria, and those are the three criteria that are most important. It doesn't matter if he's made of metal. It doesn't matter if he doesn't need to sleep. It doesn't matter, all of these things. Like, it's the fact of this is all window dressing around the situation. What we're saying is, as a society, he needs to fit into this box. Is he able to do that? And a lot of the discussions that we have that are demolishing people's rights nowadays are because everyone focuses on irrelevant shit. Like, just going like, oh yeah, but like look at the trans issue at the moment, where you're just going like, oh okay, well, oh well, do they, what are our criteria? Are they human? Do they deserve to have rights? Do they look like a woman? Do they act like a woman? All of these things. And we can define that, but then we have people throwing in arguments like, aha, but their what is it? Their chromosomes are this, or oh, their DNA is this. And it's like, when's that relevant? Like, and that to me is the same as going, oh, but Data's a robot. And it's like, yes, but he could still do everything, and he's still, for all the intents and purposes. And a lot of people try to demolish people's rights because they go, hey, I've decided this mandatory criteria that applies for this very specific situation, but doesn't
But the
really make any
comparison,
sense. Like a
but
soul, like going, oh, well, we can't prove that you have a soul. And it's like, well, then why is it on the list then?
but Maddox's comparison of Data to the Enterprise, it is like, well, what would you do if the Enterprise refused to have a refit? And it's like they are two fundamentally different things, and pigeonholing them into the same.
How would it do that?
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Well, how does it refuse? And also,
I mean,
going back to
hilariously,
our
we do
much
have
earlier
the
point, the
Iconian
Enterprise
episode
didn't go
into-
through the Academy.
Yeah.
Like the ship is built and used. The ships don't have to enroll in Starfleet Academy. Be like, okay, we know you're a starship, purpose built for this, but we just need to enroll you in the Academy and make sure you pass all the tests. That is a piece of machinery built for a specific purpose. This is a machine built to live.
It's
and to
It's
experience
an
life.
crazy.
insult to the argument. It's the idea of
Yeah.
going, hey, I'm going to say this thing because I think it's a trump card in the argument. Like, it's like, hey, the ship's computer, that's also a machine. The only thing that matters is it being a machine. And that's what I meant earlier about, like, Riker's whole argument is a good one if you think that proving Data's a machine is a trump card. If you work on the assumption that if it's a machine, then it can't be sentient. And that's wrong, and that's what we learn over the episode. But
And it's
the idea of going, oh, the ship's computer is the same as Data, and it's like, no, it's not. The same way that you'd be like, oh, this person isn't British, therefore they shouldn't have the rights as everyone else. And it's like, nope, that's a weird rule that you've just put in there.
It's
But
also
that's why I said earlier, like the argument. I don't think it's a good argument. Like I've
thinks
said
it
it
is,
before
though.
that I love this episode. This is one of my all-time favorite episodes of Star Trek. In totality. So everything I'm saying comes from a place of love with like, oh, I don't think it's a good argument. I don't think it's a good argument in the sense of it's a good, as you said, it's an argument to prove, oh, he's a machine. The whole reason we're having this court case is because we all know he's a machine. So
Yeah.
proving that he's a machine is irrelevant, as Picard says, because that's why we're here. The question we are trying to get to is, as a machine, what rights does he have? So you've just done your whole argument, and all it was, look, he's a machine. We're like, yeah. So you've just proved why we're here. We know that, but you're not working at all to, like any kind of argument on, well, the fact that the fact that he could easily overpower all of us and just not do this if he wants to. He doesn't even comprehend that idea because he's just a machine and he's made to work in a certain way.
I mean, so could Troy if she was angry enough, So it's
because she can do that scream, right? That like blows people up because she's
we
Betazoid.
I think
we don't
Pulaski
mention
could.
screams.
I think Pulaski would shank everyone on the Enterprise if given enough reason.
But
That's why they have to get rid of it.
But it's also it also
She joined
shows
Section 31. That's why we never hear about her ever again.
Oh, that's what happens. She's literally becomes an assassin.
It also
can I just say one
shows-
other thing? Sorry, Goodwill. I don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt, but I just keep forgetting to bring up this thing is that we talk about Picard's argument. We talk about Guinan like guiding Picard to this reasoning, right? It's very interesting that his reaction to Guinan and arriving at the we're talking about slavery, we're talking about this, is so different to his reaction to Data when Data gives the analogy about Geordie's eyes. and how that's superior. And so basically, and so it's because I'm not, and he just dismisses him at that point. Like he's not ready then.
Yeah.
So even Picard, who has served with Data for all this time and respects him and is there to defend him, he has those same biases.
Yeah.
When confronted with, and he doesn't it's almost like he doesn't realize he has them.
It's because he has faith in Starfleet. He's like, we need to follow the rules, and he's like, oh, actually, yeah, you're totally right, and it's an inconvenience to him, like it's.
He's like, I was just here to catch up with an old girlfriend. Why has this happened? This was not supposed. I wasn't ready for this.
I was going to touch base at Starbase.
If I don't bring it up, talking of things I want to bring up that I don't know how I'll wedge this in at any other point, so I'm going to mention it now.
I hear that phrase a lot. Sorry.
But again, it's
question about dinner, and who's buying dinner. This comes up a couple of times in the episode. Like, dinner? Are you buying?
Yeah. We've reintroduced capitalism purely for this sentence.
A cashless society with replicators. Who cares who's buying? Yeah, sure. I'll walk to the replicator and ask for the food. Fair enough.
Here's me complaining about Nusbraka and weird, him referencing ancient stuff, and then we are like going, hang on, actually, this is a very old style,
300 years.
You wouldn't expect. It's definitely, I think it's the same lines where I never picked up on it, but it's very true, Jason, that it is like, why would an adage like this have survived 300, 400 years into the future when money is gone? Like,
but
I don't think you would keep it.
Here's the thing. Okay, currency in the Federation was only eliminated, I think, about 100, not even 100 years prior, because
still before that I don't know how old she is.
Even up until the end of the 23rd century, money was still being used. So it's this whole socialist utopia where money doesn't exist in the 24th. It's still a fairly new concept. So yeah, that adage would still hang around.
I think it's code, and it is code for so we're getting Romulan ale. Like we're getting something that we actually have to buy. So when you're saying, are you buying it? So are you actually going to bring us something decent?
I think
enough Simfahol. We need the real stuff.
Even in the
I
24th.
also love that her thing was like, what do you want to do? Like that first meeting, and she's like, oh, what? When I see you, I can't think what he says, but it's like something like
smack her around the head with a chair.
No, that's what she says to him. It's like, when I see you, know what I want to do, and it's like, what? Smack me over the head with a chair. I was like, wow, that's.
I will say, okay, let's quickly talk about Philippa Lavoie. She is a one-shot character. She never appears again in Trek. But I love how empowered she is as a character. Like, she is an absolute flirt. Like, Picard is... No, Picard is like stalwart as usual. He's like, professional, you fucked me over, blah, blah, blah. And she's genuinely like, hey, buddy, you want to get it on? And she's very... That's what we usually get from males. That's literally Riker. And she's basically like a female Riker, but in a feminine way. And I like that she's like, this is what you're talking about, Jason, about how well written it is, where she appears in one episode. She doesn't really get too much screen time, and yet we get this wonderful fleshed out character where she's debating this, and she's like, oh God, you've made my job really difficult, and all of this, and and she's got wants, she's got needs, she's the quantity.
We also know that not only did she, prosecute him in the past, she left Starfleet and came back. Like you learn so much in just a few sentences, which is great.
And you wonder if New Trek would be like, we've talked about her for 5 episodes to convey that same amount of information. Well, no, they wouldn't.
No, New Trek would be, we know something about her past. She's dead.
And there's a lot of arguments with New Trek where
by the way, I just have to.
Hey, we've just talked about
that
her.
One's
She's dead.
That one's gone, guys.
There's a lot
What did you think of it? How do your insides feel?
They're all right. I actually have.
Are they still inside?
A second. So
oh God.
Oh, there was a 2-for-1 offer. We can feel it.
Geordie double whammy.
Yeah.
Wait. No.
No. Yes. But we, the problem with New Trek, and I was discussing this today with Mark, is there's this excuse of truncation with episodes where it's like, oh, well, we've already got 10 episodes to do this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes, but this character was in it for a total of 15 minutes screen time. and we got more information in those 15 minutes than some characters have in the entire 10 episodes of Starfleet Academy. And the glimmer of hope that we have seen is in Strange New Worlds, where we've had absolutely amazing characters like in Ad Astra, where, you know, Admiral...
she's in one episode, that lawyer. And we're just
yeah,
like,
the lawyer. And Admiral Pasak, up until that point, you know, the Hood from Thunderbirds, where, but even in that,
who's that American dickhead influencer bloke? But he's got the same eyebrows as Admiral Pasak.
Oh, Ben Shapiro.
I saw a picture and I was just like going, why would you? Are they stuck on? That's not a real thing. Like, I don't know. There's some.
It's like he's got magnets installed and he's just went through like iron filings. But
probably somebody said like you don't convey enough emotion, and so they're like automatic, and you can just like turn a little dial and they raise.
Here are two caterpillars.
Is it the weirdest X-Men power ever, where he has the ability to control the bushiness of his eyebrows?
It's crazy, but like
his power is being Italian.
But the writing in this, it's such a short space of time. We get so much context, we get so much backstory, and it's such a well-rounded character. And we've seen it, in certain episodes of Strange New Worlds and Picard Season 3, yada, yada. But in most new Trek, you don't get the same amount of context. And they use the excuse of truncation. And it's like, well, no, you need to look at how you are writing these strong characters. And I mean, she is a fantastic... Maddox in this episode is a very good character because he's got that arrogant walk, the swagger, the smirk, and he can convey so many emotions and reactions. Yeah, he can convey so many emotions and reactions by doing nothing, by just standing there. And you don't get that, you don't see that with Noose Bracker. You don't see that with certain bits. And it's just like
with
look at that picture there. Look at that picture, and then the one with the Admiral, of how just arrogant and how present he feels he is. And, how much it...
I think...
Can I ask a really stupid question about that? And this is something that I've always thought every time I've seen this episode. And do you know when there's something that you're like, I'm almost 40. This cannot be my fault anymore. Like, I need to get over this thing. But is there anything in the fact that he's wearing blue? And we never really see anybody, like any men in Next Generation, that tend to wear the blue uniform. We get a lot of red and a lot of gold. And there's something about him, like, rocking up in the blue uniform that I'm just like, there's something off about this guy. Like, immediately you're a bit kind of like, this is weird. He doesn't fit with all these other people.
When you think about it as well.
He is sciences, though.
I understand why he's in... No, it makes perfect sense that he's in blue. Like, I'm also always kind of the mind of, we brought in ops, right? Like we had science officers, and then we got ops. So you got Harry Kim and you got Data that wear yellow, but you'd kind of imagine they would be wearing blue because they tend to do more of the science stuff.
Isn't it weird, Goodwill, that all the people that wear blue in Next Generation are incompetent at their jobs?
Isn't it also weird?
But enough about Crofter and her
Isn't it also weird that in this very episode, myself is in red in command, Jason is in yellow for operations, and you are in blue? So
I'm purple. It's purple, damn it.
It's coming through as blue.
That's just the studio lights.
I'll adjust the colouring, so help me God.
It's really interesting, though.
Before we move on, I'm sorry to interrupt. Before we move on from New Trek, and you've mentioned Nesbracker a lot on that, I just need to break. So I almost want to do like one of the little reel type things I do about this thing, because I'm so curious, and I'm just intrigued to know if anybody else is at all on my wavelength with this. We had the Romulan Vulcan pairing of Bavi and I think her name was Zora or something like that.
Did they get a name?
She has got a name because I made a reel about it. Because I remember I made a reel about the two of them being like, I really like this pairing because I like that they've put a Vulcan and a Romulan together. It's reunification in action. Both of the actors got in touch with me. Yeah. He messaged me to say next week's a great episode for Bavi. The episode where he died.
As in, he gets some plot.
Yeah, as in like,
then he's dead.
And then he's dead. So fair enough, he's dead. But I've been speaking with the actress Cecilia Lee that plays the Romulan, because I asked her, I'm sorry, did I miss something? Or do you never appear again from, like, you were not there during that episode, really?
Yeah.
And then we never see you again. And I was like, and are you in season 2? She told me she can't say whether or not she's in season 2. She doesn't know she can say that. But no, I didn't miss anything. She does not appear even in the background. And it's like, she was his best friend. They were always, we never didn't see them
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
He dies, we get nothing. Like,
Yeah.
how did she? There's an entire episode dedicated to the trauma of what happened on that ship. And the best friend, like cousin type situation there, never addressed. We just leave it.
And
she's
not
gone
only
now.
that, the entire war college just disappears.
Not the
That's
entire war
irrelevant.
college. We got Kyle. He's still around. So the war, because this was the thing.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, maybe the war college went back to their campus now, and so we don't see them anymore. Well, we see Kyle.
This is the thing, though. It's the fact that we have this blinkered character development where it just goes, "Hey, who are the chess pieces that we're using in this episode?" And then they just focus on those and don't do. And they're like, "Oh, we don't need the War College for this one, so let's not have them at all." You know, or "Oh, we need Jaden's boyfriend in there, so here's Kyle, totally separate from his usual gang that doesn't make any sense because that's how he was introduced." But I think this is the thing, though. It's the fact of the difference between how good TNG's writing is. And I'm not saying Academy's bad writing, because we've really enjoyed it on the most part. But the fact is that it is weaker in places. Because one of the notes I made about this episode is even the characters who have nothing to do with the actual plot get little bits of development. Like Pulaski and Worf having a little glimmer of an argument where, like, Worf talks about the book that he gave to Data for his leaving present. And he's like, it's one of the finest things ever. And Pulaski literally just has a line of going, "No, I totally disagree.
Yeah.
We'll discuss this later." That tiny little thing that took like 2 seconds on screen goes, "Oh, here's some development for Pulaski and Worf.
It's
There's a thing
world
going on there."
building.
Yeah, exactly. And like in the first scene, we have O'Brien. We have O'Brien sitting down to the poker thing. And if you look, and I paused it, and this is the joy of HD, I paused it on my screen. I sort of moved closer to the television. And you can see a glint of hope
I knew this.
and love for the universe in his eyes. Because
I was getting ready to do a joke about
we're
this when you said
pre-Keiko here, okay? So you can see that there's still some kind of ability to love in his face. And you know, that character development there is.
But this is what Next Gen did well. Even in these early seasons, it's the world building. Like we get these fantastic characters. That Admiral is in other episodes of Star Trek because why not? He's an admiral. He would exist. And this is what sometimes this is what New Trek fails with, where you've got Starfleet Academy. It's got hundreds of cadets, but we only see a handful. We've got all these lecturers, but we see them for one episode. And it's like, why are they not all there? If you take Scrubs as a comparison, where it's like, this is Scrubs and DS9 and stuff like that. This is a centralized show in one place. Why are we not seeing these characters that are introduced again or reoccurring or walking past or anything? We don't. And it just takes you out of that world because you're like, oh, well, all right, why is it only these 12 people that we just see day in and day out? Why don't we see Tawny Newsome as Dax just giving a lecture? Or why don't we see this? And you look at the Next Generation and even earlier on, like even in early seasons, the building a world. And it's like, Admiral Satie is there. And this Admiral that was on this starbase in Measure of a Man, he's also in this episode later on, and he's giving orders.
Because it's that space station.
But it's great because it just makes it feel like a fully living, breathing world. And that's the one thing that we celebrated in Lower Decks, where it's like they do these cameos, but they don't make a song and dance about it because it's like, because they live in this same world.
It's like,
they
they're on
work.
DS9. Obviously, Kira and Quark are going to be there.
And they do this same job. And I would have loved to have seen Philippa in more episodes, but like she said, I'm posted into the outreaches of the Federation.
But it's believable that she would be. Like, I think if it's right when people write characters for their purpose, where they're like, hey, we need a Romulan girl from the War College, and she's going to stir up some shit, and she's going to be there in the background, and she's going to be argumentative. That is her whole whole character rather than going, what does she want? Like, literally, we could have had just one throwaway scene where it's literally one of the lecturers, like Laura Thok or something, and that Romulan girl is there chatting to her, and it's like, oh yeah, because our parents know each other or something like that, and that's it. And it doesn't mean anything. But it kind of goes, whoa, there's more to this girl than just being there giving people grief, you know?
Well,
And
I
that's what's
wanted,
annoying.
I
Maybe
wanted
she
to.
went and told his parents, like she went to deliver the news or something, or she went to
Yeah.
visit them because she knew them, or because they've
Yeah.
gone there in the past. I don't know. I also curious as to why they attend all the same classes. What's the point in having division colors if you all go to the same classes anyway?
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah. Or
it's
is it
that
just
thing,
year
like,
one general knowledge and then year
So this
two
is
they
like
choose
secondary
it?
school, years 7 through to what is
I
it,
would have
9,
preferred-
7 to
They-
9. You're all in your tutor
They get
group,
to
and
choose
then
geography
10
and
and 11,
history
you
in
get
year
to drop
yeah.
French. It's like-
but that's it. But like with next gen and stuff, where it's the idea of going, yes, there are random ensigns there. Sometimes it won't be piloted by data. It'll have some random ensign there who isn't random. They're in a couple of episodes. Like, we've got all these famous recurring ensigns and stuff.
Like, well, I mean,
Star Trek.
O'Brien, like
Yeah.
O'Brien's a great example, right? Because he was just an episode by episode basis, and you'd see him doing different little jobs. Then he became more the transporter chief, and he was
Yeah.
there and that led
It's
to him
world
being.
building.
But when he went to Deep Space Nine, he had this like full fleshed out backstory before,
Yeah.
and a wife.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It can't all be sun and roses.
I wanted to ask you two a question though. How did you guys feel with such a great episode?
Here we
How
go.
did you feel when they made the decision to bring back Bruce Maddox for Picard? At first,
My question is, did they?
well, at first,
Or
at
did they just get a
first-
random bloke and call him Bruce Maddox?
At first, I was excited when I heard, when you hear the story, like the before the show airs, and it's like,
I hope
is
it
he
goes
gonna,
somewhere.
is he gonna wrestle? Is it because he created all these androids and then they rebelled? Is he having to deal with the turmoil of thousands of deaths on his conscience because of the androids that he created? Is there a redeeming arc or anything like? Nope, he died. Episode 5. Gone. And I'm like, that was such a waste of a really good character. Well, like we said in this, in The Measure of a Man, where he invokes so much emotion by just standing there and being a smug arsehole, where
There's
in
so much
Picard,
you
he's
could
just
have
like...
done. Like
It's strange that they did that in Picard, because when they brought back other characters like Lauren or is it was it the Borg from Voyager?
Oh, Icheb.
Icheb
yeah.
or Hugh, like all of those. I mean, they brought them back and they treated them so well. So it's so
Yeah.
strange that there's just this
probably-
one occasion with
Are
Maddox
you
that they
being
would.
sarcastic though? Because Hugh kind of appears and he's like, "Hello, oh, I'm dead," and then
Does he?
Rolaren
Oh.
kind of appears and he's like, "I'm in an episode." She's in like an episode, and then that's
Yeah.
it.
Then
And
something
she
happens.
dies.
Like she just
And
then she gets on her shuttle and she goes off to enjoy the rest of her career. Right?
yeah,
It doesn't
but-
blow up.
But it,
Or
it-
did
that-
she
it
blow
is-
up?
And that's the epitome of it. It's the idea of going, hey, we've got these toys that are in the toy box, so we can bring them out whenever we want, but we don't respect them. We weren't the people who were playing with them before. We're just gonna use it as what it looks like and then get rid of it. And it's such a shame that well, to be fair, if I was going to define Picard, describe Picard season 1 and 2, I'd say squandered opportunities. Like, so many amazing plot lines you could have done, so many amazing bits of character development you could have done, and none of it goes anywhere. None of it is treated well. Even in 3 was a good series, but it still has problems. Where
Borg.
you're just going, oh.
Yeah, why the Borg? Why not
Yeah,
the Dominion?
well,
why
they're
not the
the enemy.
Wraiths? Why not Keiko? We don't
was
know. We
Keiko.
will. Well,
It
yeah,
was
we know
Keiko,
it
we
was
just
Keiko.
don't know the exact lines
But he was
yet.
he was
The
he was
problem I
such
found
a
is doing my show, shameless plug. I've got people coming on and recommend, oh, this book's amazing. It's talks about what happened after this, and oh, this book's really great, or this audio drama, or this, and I'm finding all this amazing content where I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, they already had incredible stories. So not only does the new Trek stuff, maybe bring back a character and just kill them off, but it's also erased books worth of other stories of those
Yeah.
characters, and you're kind of, I mean, and it hasn't. The books are still there, and you can read, and I'm reading many now and
We
enjoying
can
them.
also just ignore Picard.
Yeah, but it is like, it's almost like a double insult, because you're like, oh, yeah, some authors wrote some interesting stories about this character, but trust us, we've got a better idea. We're gonna kill them off. And you're like,
it's that
Great.
Marvel
it's
thing.
true. That's exactly the thing with Maddox. It's like,
It's the Marvel
we
thing
could have
of
done so much with him, but we won't.
but it's the Marvel thing of bringing back a niche character for reference's sake. Like, did you need to bring back Maddox in Picard? No. Why did you do it? Oh, because the fans will react to it and they'll be right. So what are you going to do to justify the fans' excitement for that? We'll kill him. And it's like, but they could have done so
you know
much.
You're going to bring him back because the fans will get excited, and then you'll kill him, and you've not spared a thought for whether the fans might not like that.
But it could have been a fantastic redeeming arc where we see a shot of redemption in this episode, right? And then he continues his research, and then at the end of Nemesis, B4 is recovered, and then that's his smoking gun. That is the thing where he goes, finally, I can create these, but B4 is flawed, and so he creates all these androids, convinced that this is exactly like Data. This is how Data is wired. Creates this army of androids that does all this, servitude on Mars and stuff. But the way and the mapping that he's taken from B4 is flawed. They rebel. They cause the issue. He has to live with the guilt and the trauma and everything like that. And they could have had like this massive arc where he's like, he recognizes his own hubris, his own arrogance, and it was his downfall and stuff like that. And they just don't do anything with it. And go on.
This is the joy of Trek. This is the joy of Golden Era Trek, where it has the ability to create a character and in one episode give them so much depth that you could literally put them in all the time. You could bring them back all the time, where we just go, who's the amazing treasure hunter woman who ends up going with Q? I've forgotten her name.
Oh, I know who you mean.
Oh, the archaeologist.
Yes.
Like, literally, she could have been a recurring character. She could have, like, been in all the time kind of thing. But she's got, like, 2-3 episodes? I think it's only 2 episodes.
Yeah, one in DS9,
you could have done so much with her.
Oh, yeah, because she comes back with Q, doesn't she? Like, she's gone off with
DS9,
Q and then she leaves Q.
Well, just like, this is such a and it has,
But that's also at a point that stuff carries on when they're not on screen.
Yeah.
So she comes back, and there's this whole life she lived traveling with Q, and then not, and then getting out of that, and then what happened after. Whereas with a lot of the monster, it's like, if you're not on screen, nothing is happening. It's stagnant. Nothing moves unless you're on screen. We can't imagine that people do stuff in their off time almost, which
that's it. Whereas Maddox could have happily come back. He could have been in Voyager, or maybe not Voyager, but DS9. They could have happily gone, hey, here's Maddox, here's how he's progressing, or have Data on a call with him being like, hey, I'm doing that thing that you told me to do about sort of studying my positronic signals or whatever, so here's the data on that. Hopefully it helps you research.
Or he could have found law
and then just cut away.
He could have found
law,
law,
like you're saying B5 or
or if there's a rebellion, it could have been a I helped create, maybe he succeeded. We created all these androids and then they enslaved them. And I was furious because I'd, completely gone the other way. And Data had proven to me that they shouldn't be in it. And so he's the one that caused the rebellion because he couldn't believe that they'd undermined this court case that we're talking about right now.
It would have made so much sense.
Sorry. Yeah,
it would have made so much.
He put something in to go, hey, we need to preserve, because what Data says to him about the idea, and it's that difference between understanding data and understanding consciousness, where he's like, we can store all of your memories, and it's like going, that's cool. That's like saying, hey, we can kill this person because we've got their diary. And it's like, well, you know all the events and stuff of it, but you don't know the nuance. You don't know the feeling behind it. You don't know all of the other stuff that will be lost in the moment. And I like the idea that when that is a really important part of his work, that he will take away from that and build on and then become the character who then just dies. It's so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, and going back to and going into Picard, there's so much that they could have done, and to this day I will never understand the Romulans deliberately sabotaging Utopia Planitia, causing this revolt so that they could ban androids because of the dimension thing when their entire race was in danger and the Federation was helping them. And it's like, you killed billions of your own people for this.
Yeah.
And then you all got Irish accents.
And you've all got Irish accent,
There's a character.
And
There's
the more
a
I think
fucking
about it,
character where it's just
but
like,
the more I think about
I wonder
it,
what's going to happen with her.
the more I think about it, and the more relevant the Picard and Data had, where it's like maybe they could have, they could have turned to Maddox to do this, but he was so consumed with guilt, he was so consumed with anger, of what happened, or the fact that they did become enslaved, and he turned them against their creators. He did a Cylon, he turned them against the creators, and then as a result they all got outlawed and stuff like that, and they just went nowhere with it. And it really takes away a little bit from the Measure of a Man, where you've got this brilliant mind, this arrogant cocksure mind. And I always compare him to Gaius Baltar, where he's Gaius Baltar without the guilt. He's Gaius Baltar without the consequences of his actions, and he just gets away. And yes, he does have a redeeming thing at the end of the episode, and there is a glimmer of hope. But does it stay that way, or does he go back to his arrogant ways? Does he become? We don't know. And
no, he's a different character. The Maddox that is in Picard has no relevance or bearing or anything to the character in A Measure of a Man. Like, I can't see any.
It's just the Easter egg factor, isn't it? Like this
Yeah,
is it. They just put it in. And
remember
what,
berries and all that, like.
well, what annoys me is that I think what I would love a double bluff on a lot of these things. Like I've talked about, so again, like, yeah, and I don't want to hate on Academy, because as you said, like, there are episodes I did enjoy, and even episodes I didn't like. There are elements that I liked, and the problem is that I often, and I like these kind of discussions to say, well, what if, like, what if they did this with the, and well, apart from the people writing it and planning it, I was gonna say, what's stopping them from doing this? Well, there you go. But it's like the Sharon character, the girl, we've seen her like twice, sets the internet ablaze because people are like, oh, this undermines everything from TOS and blah blah. And I'm thinking, but imagine what you could do with this character. Like, you've got someone, let's say that, they were a spacefaring civilization, so some of them escaped, fair enough. That's fine. Imagine a character who is now an endangered species because their entire race killed themselves because they couldn't get over racism. That's an interesting character. That's an interesting backstory to explore. They're not going to explore anything with that because, again, I've actually managed to speak to the actress playing the character, not an actress. She's just a model, so they're not giving her lines. She's just there to look pretty. And it's like, oh, you could, you're bringing in recognizable species, and people are going to judge you for that.
Yeah.
Why not flip the script and go, oh, you thought we just did it because we Googled what is a Star Trek alien. Actually, we've seen this episode. We've got a really interesting story to tell with that person. But they don't do that.
The problem is they could have, with a bit of forward thinking, what is the Klingon episode of Starfleet Academy, if not that? Going, hey, look, we've got a race where their planet was destroyed, or they destroyed themselves, kind of thing. They've now had to become totally nomadic, and they get people who are from that society that can't fit into it. And we're like, rather than destroying Kronos and making that like a big thing in the lore, why don't we just go, oh yeah, we have a character of the race that fits into perfectly, and we could just go, hey, she's only in this one episode where she gets fleshed out and stuff, but it's all about her, the same way that the lawyer episode of Strange New Worlds and whatnot. But no, because there isn't. They're like, hey, we've got these characters, we need to change the universe to fit what we want to say about these characters, rather than these characters fitting into the world that has been already defined by multiple other series.
I've got to ask some questions because you brought it up. This is not my fault this time. Kronos. Okay.
Yeah. Do we say it our way or the Lura Thok way?
Kronos.
Right. So first of all, can we stop blowing up planets? First of all,
yes.
Romulus, Vulcan, Kronos. Like it's becoming. It's just
Why do
how
the
can we
stakes
add?
have to be so high
Right.
all
And
the time?
secondly, fair enough. Kronos blew up, right? But the Klingons had an empire, and they liked to dominate and take over planets. And so even if they lost Kronos, yes, that's a big loss. They still had a lot of other planets that
Yeah,
they were
same
living
with
on, that they were
Romulans.
Why are they
ruling.
nomadic? Yeah.
Yeah, same with the Romulans.
Yeah. So I'm I mean, one, I just really hate that I didn't like that Romulus blew up.
Yeah.
So imagine how I felt when every other planet blew up.
I-
Because at this point, like, and it goes to the Nusbracker being a big threat. You're like, of course he's a big threat. Everyone else is gone. There's no other.
Yeah.
Well, everyone else is even more useless. You know, we're looking at Nusbracker being like, wow, he's totally idiotic and like laughable. And then we're going, most races are he's successful because he hasn't blown his own planet up yet. So I'm kind of impressed.
Although apparently his dad did.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
Okay, we're fair enough. Okay.
I get a feeling.
It's so true.
Maybe down the line, if so,
Is there even going to be a line in the future?
So well,
What planet
is the thing.
line on?
This is the thing. This is the thing, right? It's 2026. Kurtzman's contract is up this year. Star Trek can go one of two ways. All right, nothing is in production at the moment. Everything's in post production, so it can go one of two ways. One, they shelve the television arm of Star Trek for 5 years. Okay. Two, they get rid of Kurtzman now, and they do a hard reset in the vein of, now we know that the Ellisons, all right, are Trekkies. We know that the person that I think it's the son, he's a hardcore Trekkie, so he wants Star Trek at the forefront of everything when it comes to Paramount, right? They could do a reset, as in, we know that the prime timeline, if you do something, it'll alter the future, right? Disregard multiverses and everything like that. They could do something TNG era that resets what happens in the 32nd century. That doesn't exist. That's in its own universe now, or something like that. And then they basically go, hey, if you liked Discovery and Starfleet Academy, that's fine. That's safe in its own universe, like the Kelvin timeline. But we are going in this direction with TNG, and the future is then completely up for grabs again. That's the only two ways I can see it is.
I'd say they don't need to fix like the problems that Discovery and Starfleet Academy have introduced. I think the idea of if they just luckily Starfleet Academy, whether you like it or not, or you like the lore additions that it's given, it is 800 years into the future. So you can happily be like, okay, that's cool. We can just make stuff set after Voyager and before the destruction of Romulus, and do that for the next 30 years, you know, like, and we'll be fine. Like, so, you know, and going, yes, it is going to end up at this point, so we can't have the Dax symbiote get destroyed because that will break the canon there. But you can happily just be like, cool, let's just, like Discovery. I was happy being like, oh, Discovery, it's made itself totally away from everything. It was before everything, so we don't care. It was after everything, so we don't care. Great, I can just ignore it, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen, you know?
I think, you know, in terms of blowing up planets, like, that would be a reset marker in a story. And yes, they destroyed the Romulan system.
Luckily, it doesn't
right?
happen for 800 years after.
But they destroyed the Romulan system in Star Trek 09, right? So Star Trek Online used that as a precedent, and then obviously Picard onwards used that as a precedent as well. That was the reset marker. But then you jump ahead and they go, oh, well, the burn destroyed Kronos. Right.
Let's not talk about the burn.
Yeah, we destroy the Kelpians.
Yeah.
Burn never happens.
Yeah, and it's and start, you know, in the Kelvin verse, Vulcan gets destroyed. Why do you need to have reset markers, these massive galactic shifting things, when they're really not needed? And like when it came to the burn, but when it came to the burn, not just Kronos, like there was trillions of people killed in the galaxy, and it's such, and the thing is, like, it was such a major event that was not done. Like, it's a major event. It was literally a galaxy-ending event, and it was just... The effects haven't been properly translated onto screen yet. Like, they're going, oh, well, we're rebuilding Starfleet. And it's like, entire species have become extinct. Entire planets are gone. But you're still trying to call back to, oh, well, Starfleet in its heyday, and this in its heyday. And it's like, you should still be, even after 120 years, you should still be rebuilding these civilizations, helping these people, because it is a galactic apocalyptic event. But then you look at the map and it's like, oh, well, we've still got DS9. How is DS9 still there in 800 years when it's dilithium power? Do you see what I mean? And it's like...
Yeah. Well, I think the issue
it's
as well
a lack
is that...
of awareness of the universe. I
But
think
it's also
that
the idea of, like, Star Trek, right, like, if you boil it down to its simplest form, it was like, well, we solved the issues of it on Earth, so we decided to go out and explore. But now you've got issues that you need to solve. So exploring has to be put on the back foot. You can't be like, oh, so we're going to go out and explore, because that's what Starfleet's for. So actually, the War College makes so much more sense than Starfleet Academy, because you're like, it's a dangerous world. There's a lot of pirates. There's loot. We need a War College because we need to protect. And actually, sending the War College out to, help protect these colonies, makes
they're
sense.
never involved when Nusbrak is attacking.
No.
The War College are like, we forgot they existed. Yeah.
Even though they beat them at Calicut.
Yeah.
So they should be like, they're the better ones.
They're the militaristic arm, but it's like when you compare it, to reference Prodigy, where it's like, hey, this thing has just happened on Mars. Starfleet they're cancelling the Academy, they're pulling all the resources, we've lost a lot of ships. However, we're going to have this where there's still going to be an exploration arm and you're going to do this. And it's like, why couldn't, after the burn, why couldn't you have the same thing where you've got the War College where they're the militaristic, they're the patrol arm, they're the security force, the protection force, and then have a exploration arm that, is tasked with doing the science and the, seeking out new life. But, in 800 years into the future, how much more exploration needs to be done? And then after the burn, is it exploration or is it going out and rediscovering, making second contact with all these places that have been decimated by the lack of dilithium and that couldn't travel and stuff?
But instead they're like space pirates, big explosions, dramatic stuff, and you're like what's great about Trek is that this episode has been so emotional to us. Measure of a Man is so emotional to us. It's such a roller coaster. It's so exciting, the discussions that happened in this episode, and it's literally about one robot's right to choose whether he gets dismantled. We don't need planets to explode. We don't need these high stakes. We don't need everyone on the ship gonna die. And that's what good writing is. It's going, hey, here is a situation and we're going to show how you can care about it, rather than it needs to be world ending before anyone gives a shit.
But then they could
if Data doesn't have the right to choose, he has got a big red button. He will press it.
He will kill everyone. He will literally.
I
and
just
that's
want
what
to
happens
address
at the end of the episode. He systematically snaps everyone's.
But the comparison.
Yeah, he finds a random sort of like cargo bay full of Irish people because it's TNG, and he just slaughters each of them.
But the comparison,
that's the extended episode.
The comparison that's always made is like, oh, well, the original series had the universe-ending things. And I'm like, yes, but Star Trek matured when it got into the Next Generation and Voyager and DS9. We did have these things.
But also they weren't all universal. Like that's like the difference is it was episodic. So there may have been an episode that featured that, and then there was an episode that was nothing at all like that. Whereas this is an arc building to it. I also think with character development, that's another issue. It's like because it was episodic, you had complete development of a character in one episode. In Academy, if I'm gonna put a positive spin on some of the writing, because I sound very negative so far. Like I did not like Sam. I didn't like this 1 month old hologram. It annoyed me. And I when she went to a bar and got drunk, I thought that was weird. When she gave all the control of her system to Caleb, the most untrustworthy cadet in the academy. I thought that was stupid. And then they addressed it and they gave her those 17 years. And even she looked back and was like, I was so stupid. I shouldn't have
I
done
was
these
so
Yeah.
naive. I was so
and I like that. And guys, while we're on this, because I get a lot of flack for something that I know you both believe, I put up a video about that, comparing it to Kess,
yeah.
and got told by so many people that no one ever felt that way about Kess. And what am I talking about? And Kess was
Bollocks.
absolutely fine. And I was like,
Yeah.
just because you
People,
didn't feel that way,
I
doesn't mean
loved
that.
Kess as a character, and I've always felt like I'm in the minority because everyone was like, "Ah, she's rubbish. There's nothing going on with her and stuff." And I was like, "But there's so much potential with
Yeah.
her." Yeah.
But
Getting
I would say, to go into your main point about like what's to come, I wouldn't mind there being a pause at least for
yeah.
television. So maybe some movies, because like I would never want to be considered like a gatekeeper of Star Trek. What I think is that people do need to go back and watch older Trek, and you've
Mm.
got a lot of people now that maybe are even podcasters or involved in Trek, and they are slowly working their way through Trek, and it just takes time because there's so much of it, right?
Mm.
So they've seen all of Strange New Worlds, and they've seen all of Discovery, and they've seen all of Academy, and then we come in and say, "Well, like it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel very Trek to me, this or that, and there's some issues with the writing that I've got." And uh, and because there are people that just attack anything regardless of without nuance, they are very defensive. So I do understand why they're so quick to kind of jump on you if you criticize.
Mm.
But giving them time to be like, okay, so you've decided you like Star Trek, but you've never watched TNG. You've never watched Deep Space. Oh, you've watched Voyager. Okay, so you've watched Voyager, great,
Yeah.
but you've not watched TNG yet. Go and watch TNG. Go and watch DS9. Go and watch the original series, because
Mm.
the original series, like, this is a conversation that's come up a lot recently on my podcast with a few different guests, and I think it was Trekker Tom, maybe no, it was Mike Smart, I think, who actually gave me like the most clear understanding of what's gone wrong with Kirk, is that if you ask someone to picture Kirk in their mind, they picture him in the yellow or green outfit, TOS Kirk,
Mm.
but their idea of Kirk is movie Kirk,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Whereas if you were to picture Picard and you pictured movie Picard,
Yeah.
that's not Picard, right? That's John McClane. Like, that's not the
Yeah.
Picard we're used to, right?
Yeah.
And there's this idea that, oh, Kirk, he just tell me an episode of Star Trek. Oh, it's just Kirk beams down to a planet, seduces the alien, sleeps with her, comes up to. That's not true. Like, that's not most
Yeah.
episodes of TOS. And actually, there's this brilliant balance where Spock is so logical without any emotion and nuance, and Bones is so emotional and like, we should do that. And then Kirk is the commander, the one making the decisions, and he is the one going, right, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. How can I put these together to make and ultimately, whether you agree with my decision or you don't, this is the decision. And you see him reprimanding crew members because they get emotional, because they're reacting, because they have prejudice against Romulans, because their father or grandfather fought in the war, and he's like, well, that's not your war. That's not what's going on now. And like,
Yeah.
all of that is missed because people don't go back and watch it.
Yeah.
And the reason they don't go back and watch it is because they're watching the new stuff and they're talking about the new stuff, and then the next new thing comes out and they're watching that. So giving them time to go back and get to watch and enjoy some of these shows, I think is a good thing. So have a little break, give us a couple of movies maybe to bring in more of the audience. And it's great that the audience can come in. Oh, I decided I quite like Star Trek maybe. Great. Here's some good examples of Star Trek. But
Well,
for that to happen, the movies need to be Star Trek.
yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
can't have a movie that is basically Star Wars in Star Trek paint and go, great, you like Star Trek now, go and watch TNG. And they're like, I don't like this. So figure that out.
Well,
But then that's it.
It's the fact of like, and I think that's a good high point for praise of Strange New Worlds. Maybe not Strange New Worlds because it's a bit out of the way, but Starfleet Academy, where it's the DS9 episode, where it's so respectful that people might look at it and be like, why is there a typewriter in the museum? What's that got to do with anything? And then they can go back to DS9 and watch it and be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And Stranger and Academy does that really well compared to Discovery, where if someone watches Discovery and they're like, "Oh, these Klingons seem great. I'm going to watch the Golden Era and see what Klingons are like." Oh, they're totally different. It's like, oh, the Breen are in Discovery. I wonder what they're like. I'll watch DS9. Never mind. Like, but it's the fact that the stuff
Oh,
from
talking
Academy
of the
you can
Breen,
directly you
I
can go, hey, you like that? You like Dax? Hey, go back and watch this. And then there's this whole world for you to discover and love. That's what's great.
I listened to an audiobook series,
Mm,
Star Trek Prey. It's 3 books, and there's this whole thing about the Breen. And the
mm.
Breen, the reason they wear the masks and the suits is because they are from all different species and they're joined. And
Agrophobic.
there's and no, it's like that
So,
they're basically it's it's completely like removing. It doesn't matter which species you're from. Once you
mm.
become Breen, you're a Breen. So you
Yeah.
can be, and so there's this character who's an Orion, but she's a Breen, and it was such an interesting story, and it was so compelling, and like the reason she embraced it so much because of how she'd been treated as an Orion in her life and put into servitude at one point and then this and that, and how people had always judged her on her appearance and on her body, and now she's a Breen.
Yeah.
And it was so great, and all I could think is, oh man, they've ruined that. Like we can't go back to that.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's so
so
frustrating.
annoying.
I
By the way, before
Ruining it.
because we've detoured so much, I
Yeah.
love the Riker data scene at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I just need to mention that because if we wrap up without me saying that, I'll be upset. I
Well,
love that
it's so true.
Riker was sad because he almost won, and
yeah.
like
Yeah.
the guilt he felt, and how Data just completely understands, and I love that, and that is again, and I hate the new Trek old Trek comparisons, but like there's conflict. Like Riker feels this way about it, and Data appeases him, and it reminds me of when Worf and Data have their little spat when Data's in command of the Enterprise, or the whole issue with Barclay and how they didn't like him, and
Mm.
and they're told to kind of get over it and deal with it. And I just loved how in TNG they were like, you guys have to work together. You've got to be friends, and sometimes
Yeah.
you're gonna do stuff, and it's gonna
You're in a confined
cross a
space.
line or just get close to the line, but you're gonna work it out and you're gonna solve the problem. Don't worry about it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need that. I miss
That's the
that.
maturity of Golden Era Trek when you think, like making that comparison to Data and Worf, where Worf is like, I hope this hasn't affected our friendship. And Data reassures him and, says, this does, you are no less of a friend to me because of this. And it's great maturity and it's addressing things in a mature manner. And I think,
It's
having
professionalism.
it's
And I
professionalism
think that's
and
what people
it's
forget.
and putting Star Trek on hiatus, I think the world at the moment needs Star Trek, but it doesn't need the Star Trek that we are currently getting. Now, I like, don't get me wrong, I like Starfleet Academy, I like Strange New Worlds, and I like everything. The world needs Star Trek of old where it has mature sensibilities. It deals with things in an adult way. It resolves stuff without violence, without fights. It resolves stuff through dialogue, through negotiation, through talking, because I think that is a valuable lesson, especially in these times, that people need to understand and people need to learn that action is not always physical action. Action is talking it through, is addressing your issues, is discussing the different points of
But
view.
that's not going to sell product goodwill.
Do you know
That's not going to,
what would be
that's not
really
going to keep the
interesting
advertisers happy. That's
is to see what happens. You know how they're talking about like year one.
Yeah.
Star Trek Year One is possible because they haven't taken the sets down. Although someone else I heard say the reason they haven't taken the sets down is because they might use them for movies because that's a way to save
Mm.
money if they decide to do another like TOS movie type thing.
Yeah.
But what would be interesting if hypothetically they did make a Year One is at that point you've got and I guess you can just you can hand wave it away and well it's Year One so they're still learning but we talk about the different like this lack of professionalism and the difference and it's easy to say well maybe Pike is just a more familial captain Like he likes his crew to be a family. And I've in other audio dramas and things like that, I've come across captains that are, known to be more a family head than a commanding officer. Fair enough. So that could explain away Pike, and also the fact that he knows he's going. He knows his future and he wants to enjoy the time he has left. Fair enough. Okay. But if you move into having Kirk as captain of the Enterprise with Spock, with McCoy, with all of these things, how will you explain away if they behave so differently to how we have them in TOS? Because at this point they are the same character. Like, you can do it with everything else. You could do it in Discovery because they were different characters. You could do it in Strange New Worlds because it's a different captain, and the captain kind of sets the tone for the ship. And you can do it in Academy because, like, Academy, I don't care that the kids are stupid. That makes sense. They're kids.
Yeah.
They're 21, whatever, but they're kids.
Yeah.
I can't handle the adults being stupid because they're supposed to be not only
Don't
the
get
best
me
of the best.
started on Lura.
Yeah.
So, like,
your
I get
job
that.
is to scream at people, right? Okay, and that's your only skill. Okay.
But I do think it would be interesting if you put it into a situation where, because even with the 2009 Star Trek, you're like, well, why would Kirk behave this way? Well, he didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
He didn't have a dad who we know shaped so much of his personality in his life.
Yeah.
He didn't have that father figure, so this is the guy he became. You explain away all his, different behavior. But if you're going to give us year one and say, this is the Captain Kirk that then does the 5-year mission, it's either something has to happen to him at the end of season 1 to be like, oh, that's why he changed so much, or he needs to be that captain and the crew needs to be that crew.
Yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't make sense.
I think they can do it. I think the biggest problem is with Spock, where it's the fact of, like, because obviously Spock has a problem in Strange New Worlds that
He's a
is
singer,
so...
he's a dancer, he's a seducer.
But I think I'm sure we discussed this when we were talking through the last season of Strange New Worlds, but it's the fact of all it takes, because in the original series, Spock is basically someone who's like, hey, I have been hurt by my human side, so I'm going to embrace my Vulcan side. And he is deliberately suppressing his human side, and that's why he becomes the way he is. I think you could go down that route plot-wise and go, hey, he is a singer, he is a dancer, all of that has happened, but he's making a conscious effort now to be purely logical, to be purely Vulcan, and like La'an can die. So it's the idea of going, hey, La'an might die, and then he's like, I can't deal with these emotions. I have to actually sort of shut down and be
himself.
Vulcan.
Yeah.
And then he gets to that stoic thing.
I like her.
Oh no, but the whole thing is she doesn't exist outside of Strange New Worlds, But it's
Well, I mean, they are saying
She joined Section 31. She starts Section 31.
They are saying with
that's Section 31 is a major thing, which means that it must have been created by her from Discovery sent to the past. It has to be. It has to be Michael Burnham went back into the past to set up all major events in the Star Trek universe.
They are saying.
Okay, they're saying Captain Goodwill knows something. So let's find out what he knows.
They are saying because year one's been officially pitched. And within the pitch, they have said to save delay in jumping into production, all the crew of Strange New Worlds, bar Pike, will move into year one. So you'll still have La'an, you'll still have Chapel, Dr. Umbenga and stuff like that. We still want to know how Umbenga went from CMO to just Doctor with the introduction of McCoy, because that's how McCoy gets placement on the ship. So to save time, that's what they're saying. But I think what will probably happen is if they do a year one, it's going to be a self-contained mini-series of maybe 10 to 16 episodes where it is that transitional period of the Enterprise where Kirk takes charge and he finally learns his command style and he goes from the reckless thing to...
What I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be that the final season of Strange New Worlds is going to be that. It's going to be the where does everyone move away? Who's there? How do we get who's missing Sulu and stuff into it. Like, I think that's going to be the
Yeah.
transition thing where the characters that get killed off will get killed off over the next season or the fifth season, and then we'll do all of that, and then year one will be jumping ahead, being like, hey, it's a year later after sort of, Pike or whatever, and we've developed this. Oh, now this person's and it'll do a leap. It won't explain how we got there. It'll just be like, oh yeah, he's the chief engineer now. Pele has gone off somewhere, and we don't need to explain that. But they'll keep them around in case they need to do a Tilly where they pop back for one episode to be like, look, Lan's still, Umbenga still exists, but he's
I
not
would
there.
just love them to say. Do you know what I would really love is if it ended just basically like dissolving into an episode of TOS and then just telling people go and watch this show.
Yeah.
Because I like, and I'll be honest, I was born in '87. I grew up with TNG, Voyager, Discovery, no, DS9. And I couldn't, like, TOS was on a lot at home. So my mum was a Trekkie, my grandparents were Trekkies. So, like, I inherited this curse. And and I'd seen TOS, but I could never really get on board with it because it just looked so dated to me. And TNG was shiny, and Voyager and DS9, it was all like shiny. And it's only much later in life that I've gone back, and I'm really enjoying TOS. So I'm watching TNG with my son, so I don't generally watch it apart from watching this episode. I'm generally not watching that unless I'm watching it with him. So it's quite slow going because it's only kind of 1 or 2 evenings a week that maybe we can watch an episode.
Yeah.
If it's me and I'm like picking an episode for myself to watch, I'm going back through TOS at the moment and I'm loving it. And I'm just like, this is so good. Yes, there are elements that, are dated, but
Haven't aged
I can watch it and not worry about special effects and not worry about, because I can pay attention to what the characters are saying and what they're doing and things like that. And I just think more people need to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
And I think even people that go back and sort of like, oh, I got into Star Trek watching the 2009 movies, or I got into Star Trek watching Discovery or whatever. Great. And maybe they've gone, and I've gone back and I've watched some TNG and some DS9 and some Voyager, but they still, like, it's almost like people don't want to touch TOS.
It's really difficult 'cause I struggle with it because TOS is something that I think I've made it all the way through, but it's something where I don't hold it to the same standard as like the TNG and all of that lark. And because it is a difficult one because I find a lot of the things dated in a lot of ways, but I would never dismiss it. It's very much one of those ones where you're like, oh, that's for you kind of thing. But for me, I'm kind of happier reading articles being like, oh, is that what happens in this episode? Great, okay, cool. But which is me being horrible and a terrible fan.
Well, there's a YouTuber, it's so funny to call him a YouTuber because he's not what I picture when I say it's not what I picture when I say like a YouTuber, and I think of like a 20-year-old. He's a much older gentleman with a big grey beard. But that's Star Trek Revisited, and he kind of dissects each episode of TOS. Peter Rising is his name. He's been on my show. So maybe people should just go and watch something like that and just go and see him talk about the episodes, because yes, you don't necessarily have to see all the kind of all the bits that are
if it's not your bag, you have got plenty of Trek YouTubers, even ourselves, to look at the episodes and
I
and
haven't seen you guys do a positive episode of TOS.
Oh,
I've only seen you do
we have.
No,
Have we?
Hey.
A few
I'm not
years
saying
ago.
you haven't. Wait. Whoa. Goodwill, come on.
We have.
Don't attack me, Captain
Must
Goodwill. Shields up. What I'm saying is, I'm not doubting whether or not you've done it. What I'm saying is, in the time I've known you and the shows that I've watched, I've seen you do positive episodes of TNG, for example, the one I am blessed to be on this evening. And I've seen you do the Dabo Wheel of Shame episodes of TOS.
Yeah. No, we did. We had a Dabo Wheel of Honour for TOS, which was What a Little Girl's Made Of. Which,
so I just would like to.
I sang praises
I want
of
to
it,
see these episodes. This is
but
my.
I did
Was that a
strike off
Dabo Wheel of?
Oh no,
was that
I
an
put
Honour
up the
one?
Dabo Wheel of Honour because I really,
Really?
I think it's a really great episode.
I-
But I do
You guys ripped that apart.
I do attack Kirk a lot on that episode because I'm like,
I-
everything else in the episode is amazing, but Kirk can fuck off.
Is that the episode where at the end because I feel like I watched that not long ago and I might have watched it for your show. Is that the one where he absolutely falls in love with the girl and he's like completely convinced that and so at the end of that episode, Spock erases his memory and we never mention it. He just goes forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and this is my argument for why Tuvok is the best Vulcan in Starfleet.
The thing
But
is,
this is the thing. It's like Tuvok is the only true Vulcan that we get in Starfleet until we get to Pearl. It's it's this idea where everything we know about Spock.
Although we've got the
Spock is
Doctor,
actually
season 1 and 2 of TNG. What's her name? The Vulcan Doctor.
oh yes,
Oh, she barely gets any screen
Yeah,
time.
but
though.
she is in the Star Trek New Frontier books are really, really good. And she is the chief medical officer in that. And the first
Amazing.
officer is Shelby from
Hey.
So that's a really good book series where they brought in just a couple of characters that were like these ones a bit, and then they created some new characters, sent them off on a mission. That's what I want from my stuff. That's what I want from New Trek. I just want a new ship, a new crew, and go off and do a mission. I don't need everybody to be related to every other person I've ever met in Star Trek. Like that's
Okay, we need to round this off because I'm noticing the time. But can I just point out one thing before we went massively on a tangent there about New Trek and whatnot? Yeah, you've joined us for a trekking up north tangent. But yeah, when we were talking about the Data and Riker scene at the end, one of the notes I've got is the idea of like how we start the episode with Riker being the perfect example of what a human is, like what a human is like, what human behavior is like, where we see him getting one over on Data and bluffing him in like calling his bluff in what is it? Is it 5-card stud? Poker?
yeah, poker, yeah.
Oh, they make such a meal of poker.
Yeah, it's
but
not
he's like,
right.
and the axes take everything, and you're like, just play Texas Hold'em.
Yeah, that's
you
it.
can all follow that.
It's not. They're playing. What is it? Happy Families. They're playing Uno. It's literally the same
Cards
scene,
Against
but sort of-
Humanity. Yeah.
But Pulaski's Uno reverse data. But like that. But then the final scene where it's basically sort of Data teaching a lesson to Riker and kind of going, "Hey, but you saved me by taking on that bad responsibility and proving that I'm a machine and doing all of this. You who have contributed to my freedom. Like I wouldn't have this if you hadn't done that." And I like that role reversal where it's the fact of going, the reason why Data is a member of the crew and the reason why he is sentient and he has the ability to change is because people can learn from him the same way that he can learn from people. And that's what we all have to do, Data is one of us.
But it's that reply of "You're a wise man, Data," and he goes, "I'm not, but I will be in time."
Yeah, no, it's like not yet, but with your help, I am learning.
Yeah,
and it's like Data's so good.
It's a wonderful episode, and I said to Charlotte when we finished, I was like, I just want to keep going, and this is the one thing I love about Trek of old is you just want to keep going. You just want to move on to the next episode and keep watching because it's a warm blanket for people like us. We've grew up with Star Trek. And yes, we have said many positive things about the original series. The problem is you can't see them because they know. Yes, they're on.
We'll re-upload them at some point.
I will do some shenanigans in the background and re-upload them. But we did. I mean, it kind of makes me sad because we did cover a lot of the original. I mean, there was a spate, if you remember, Synoiz, where I think it was every 2 weeks we had a TOS episode that we were covering, and you had to goose the wheel to move it on to something else because we were like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I remember we
had to wash my uniform.
And we had to take
TOS.
I mean, I will also say that like the reason I'm so like hot on TOS at the moment is because I I feel like I unfairly didn't give it a big enough chance growing up.
Yeah.
And I am enjoying it. But so for me, Star Trek, like, I mean, I was born in '87, the year that TNG launched. So like for me, growing up, TNG is Star Trek. Voyager and DS9s are spin-offs of TNG.
Yeah.
And then like Enterprise was kind of the first Trek that came out when I was older and sort of
Same.
okay,
Yeah.
I can that. And then New Trek is what it is now, and I'm happy to have new Star Trek, and I'm happy to bring more people in to see Star Trek. And I understand that not everything is made for me, but I want better for the people it is made for. Is my argument. It's like, oh, it's not made for me. Fair enough, but like, disabled toilets aren't made for me, but I would hope they're clean. Like
exactly, that's a great analogy.
Like
that is a fantastic
I want
analogy.
Good stuff for you, and so.
But this is the problem where
I am loving watching TNG with my son.
Yeah.
Like this, and I've waited. He's 12. I've tried in the past to kind of nudge him towards it, but I haven't pushed. And now I'm enjoying him getting invested and wondering about things and us being able to talk about stuff and things and that I do think is so valuable, and I hope that whatever happens in the future with who's taking over and what they're making and this and that, the fact that there is just this library of great Trek already out there, I just want people to take advantage of it. And when I hear that people have like rewatched Voyager 7 times and haven't watched TNG, I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
but this is, I mean, me
really
and you
odd.
were
And then they'll make the case of, oh, Voyager's the best one, and I'm like, you have to see all of them to compare.
But this is the thing. So me and Jason were both born in the same year, and our experiences of Star Trek are different. I grew up with the original series and then TNG, and then it was sort of like the natural chronological progression of Star Trek. I know people, again, my age, who they started watching Voyager, got into Voyager. Voyager was their favorite one, and then moved into TNG, DS9, and everything like that.
I mean,
but then
my family was so poor that we started with Babylon 5.
Is that a tease of something coming soon?
No, it's not. Nothing's been agreed yet.
Nothing's been agreed.
My mental health isn't quite there yet.
The contract has not been signed, has it, Synoiz? Sign the fucking contract.
Trying to find a fucking box set for cheap enough.
But but again, I wholeheartedly agree with Jason, where it's not that we're trying to shove our version of Trek down the throats of people. It's the quality of the writing that we want. It's the quality of the storytelling that we want. The newer people who are getting into Star Trek and watching New Trek to experience that for the first time via the medium of New Trek. And we do see glimmers of it, very minuscule in certain episodes of New Trek, and it is there, and the potential is there.
It's a shame. It's like the thing that annoys me is you get loads of people, okay, like, because we've had this in our experience with like the stuff we've got on the channel, where like in Starfleet Academy, it's a lot of modern topics. It's a lot of things like sort of queer identities, a lot of disability discussion, a lot of these things, and like, and a lot of not typically beautiful characters and stuff. But then you kind of. And then you get people where they're like going, oh, I hate it because it's got queer people in. And you're like going, okay, what the fuck? But then you've got people who are like loving it because it's got queer people in. But then if you criticize it in any way, shape or form, they go on the warpath and they go, oh, you fucking hate this. And it's like, no, I'm saying you deserve better. I'm saying, we need queerness in Trek, but we need it to be better written and handled than what we're getting in this. And that's the big problem. It's like you're saying, Jason, where it's like going, they deserve good writing. So it's like, go
it's
back.
Like,
it's
this
all
idea
good.
it should always be kind of and there, not. So this was a little bit, and it's hard to say it because I do feel like if you say it, you get attacked. But it was like in Discovery when they were like casting members, they're like, oh, we've got this person. It's like the first non-binary person ever been started. I'm like, okay, but can they act? Like to first tell me we've got this incredible actor, great. Oh, and by the way, they're also non-binary. Okay, but it's like first and foremost, you need to know this about them, regardless of their ability. And I just feel like, well, that's not really like. I'd rather you find the best actor, who then also can fit, it can
Yeah.
fulfill the role that you're looking for, great. But leading with that tells me that you don't really care about.
Yeah, they don't care about
You're banging
non-binary
a drum
people. They're
about what you're
ticking a
doing.
box because
Yeah,
they think that's what you're meant to do. And it's like, that's worse than not representing. Bad representation does as much damage as not representing at all. Like, I'm very much against the idea of going, oh, we threw a gay character in. And it's like, but did they need to be there? Or what's their plot development? Oh, they're just written like every other character. You just decided to have one scene where they're kissing someone. Like the Sulu being like a gay dad in the what's it called, the
Star Trek Beyond.
Star Trek Beyond, and you're just going, oh, I'm so glad that what got worked into the plot and that it was like a fundamental part of the character. It's just a throwaway ticking a box thing, and that's actually insulting to me rather than going, we don't know anyone in the background, any ensign could be, like
yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
Gentlemen.
I think we need to round this up. So,
yes,
Jason, do you have any remaining things or points?
No,
that you
I
haven't
was
got to say yet?
literally looking for. So these are my notes. I don't. If you've ever listened to my podcast, I don't take notes. I don't do notes. Don't review. So
Me
my
neither.
these are my notes. Poker scene, Data breaking down poker. I did quite enjoy Data just explaining why poker is so easy.
Yeah.
Well, hence the number of millionaires we have in the world that all got
Oh,
really
yes,
good at poker. Captain Philippe Louvois. So again, another French name.
Revoir.
They love the
Revoir.
French. So that's the connection with
Oui,
the
oui,
They
cast.
love the
That's
French name, but they're very weird about no one having French accents.
That's
Well,
why they cast a Yorkshireman and an American.
my universal translator does not allow for French accents. So
Yeah, no,
that's-
that is the first
Yeah.
patch that you would put
Yeah.
on it.
That's in
Brummy.
Birmingham. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
The Stargazer court martial I think is interesting. I mean that again, and the Stargazer, we saw it in season 1 when the Ferengi brought it back, and we understand what happened to him. But again, it's that backstory. It's lovely just to see. It just feels so real, like
Yep.
to know that you didn't just inherit. You're not like a nepo baby that they're just like, here's the Enterprise, enjoy. It's like
Yeah.
he's had a career. He's got to where he is today because of stuff he's gone through.
He had
And it
10
hasn't
years
always
of
been
shit,
smooth.
yeah.
Hasn't always been smooth sailing. Like that's, Oh, Joe Dove has entered the chat. Hi, Joe. I feel like I spoke to you earlier today.
Hello, Joe.
Buy me dinner. I've mentioned that. Data seems up for it. I like the fact that Data wasn't so quick to dismiss everything. LaForge eye analogy I've written as well. I thought that was. This is an episode of analogies I've noticed. So we need to work on those. But I've used one myself with the disabled toilet. So there you go. I love the Guinan scene. We've mentioned that. The cross-examination of Maddox. Dinner, you buying, what money? That's come up a couple of times. And then the Riker scene with Data. No, that is everything I had on my notes. I think we
Perfect.
covered everything. Just to say, I love this episode. And I think what's funny is people talk about TNG and they kind of dismiss season 1 and 2. Like, particularly season 1.
And they really
I'll be
shouldn't.
honest with you, there's some really good episodes in season 1.
Yeah.
And do you know what's funny? This is the difference. So my son is so much more analytical than me, and he's good at maths, which I'm terrible at. My issue with like Encounter at Farpoint when I first saw it is like, who's this Q guy? Get out of the way. What are you doing here? Like, I don't care. Like, what's all this courtroom thing? I missed all of that. It didn't make any sense to me. My son, I watched it a lot younger than my son is watching it now. He's been waiting for Q to come back.
Really?
And we just started watching Hide and Q. And he's like, oh, Q's back. And I'm like, wow, like you remember Q.
He's in for a treat.
That's
He is in
amazing.
for such a treat.
Isn't it weird what a strange world we live in? Because there's some kind of parallel universe where people actually care about Neelix as a character.
Who?
That must exist somewhere.
Well, going on about early episodes of The Next Generation, Haven.
No.
Okay. I'm sorry, but it is the first episode that I was on in the agony booth on Captain's Quadrant, and I will never forget Mr. Hom and his gong. It fills my heart with joy. I used to hate it. Now every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, 3 years ago.
Can I also mention that,
Yeah.
everyone always talks about Riser. Oh, Riser, right? Like, oh, if you could go into any planet, where would you? Oh, Riser. What about Edon? like, yeah, sure, Wesley stepped on the grass. What an idiot! But
Yeah.
for everybody else, it was great. Like that was a wonderful plan.
great
I
one.
couldn't wear those things that they wear. It's too revealing
Oh,
for me.
What I'd do
Goodwill,
is-
you could.
I just go there and I'd break every law. I'd blow their little minds. They wouldn't be ready for me. They'd be like, oh my god, he broke some glass. I'd just be like,
but
right,
you're
okay,
absolutely fine because
everything.
it's only if that one sector happens to be. That was just a plot device. Like,
Yeah.
from what it sounds like, is probably statistically speaking, you're all right, mate. Like, and also it didn't last very long because it was in place when Wesley stepped on the grass. They arrived, beat up the security guards, and they were like, "Oh, if this was still in control, you guys would be in trouble." But it's
Yeah.
moved on. Brilliant.
Let's go
Science-
back to that planet. Let's do that. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so we've literally covered all of my notes. There's other things. I loved seeing more Pulaski. I am very much in the minority, but I love Pulaski as a character. So it was great seeing a
Yes.
character.
I'm right
It
there
was
with
great
you.
seeing her in an episode. I really want to do more
A
episodes
competent
with her in-
doctor.
Well, she is a genuinely good doctor.
She's
Yes,
so
yeah,
much
she
better.
is. But, like,
Sorry, Jess
Crush-
from Crusher's Conversations, but she is a better doctor than
No,
Crusher.
Crusher is literally like, well, I haven't killed anyone today.
Yeah.
I must be succeeding. Like
Sorry, Geordie, there's
the-
nothing I can do for your eyes. Impossible.
Yeah.
I've cured this like multiple times. Do you want me to do something? Nah,
I
it's
want
fine,
to.
I'm
I
the
wanted to
I
raise
just love the
that.
idea that even in canon, like Crusher goes off to be, and the plot is that she's gone off to be the head of Starfleet Medical, and she comes back in a year because they realize she lied to fuck on her CV. She gets there and she's like, "So Ogawa's not here. What does all of this stuff do?"
I wanted to raise. I was like, LaForge is on the Enterprise for 7 years wearing a visor. He gets kidnapped by Tholian Zor. What's his name in Generations? Malcolm McDowell. And Malcolm McDowell's like, you do realize you could get like implants, right? And Johnny's like, the fuck? And
Yeah.
in the next movie, he's got the implants. He gets back to the Enterprise and he goes, "Hey, Bev. Why did
Crusher.
you tell me?"
Crusher has forgotten the login for her laptop, and she's too scared to tell anyone. So she's just been winging it for like 6 seasons. But yeah, anyway, that all the other notes. The only other note I have is one of my favorite bits of the episode is just after the trial where Lavoie has ruled that Data has the right to choose, and he gets up out of his seat, goes up to Maddox, and he says, "Go fuck yourself, mate." That is. I thought that was such a great bit of the episode. Like maybe I sort of remembered that differently, but
Get
yeah.
fucked, respectfully.
Go and fuck yourself.
Go and
mate.
fuck yourself. Go and do the biker, you bastard. Sorry,
Yeah, that
Yorkshire.
happened.
Translation to Yorkshire. You bastard. Let's. Anyway, we must move on because I do believe the very handsome, the very.
we're doing
He's a
this.
trooper. He's a trooper, as Jason, because it's been 2 hours and 27 minutes.
Yes.
I apologize
do
for all the
believe-
times I've coughed as well. I feel really sort of
No,
fucked
we-
about
I
it,
haven't
but-
noticed.
The amount of times I've farted and you never know. I do believe, Jason, you may have a challenge.
Yes,
Oh,
I have
God.
I do have a question for you. I mean, this is much more a Goodwill question, Synoiz, so you can.
This is for
you
the
can relax.
Dabo Wheel, everybody. So
I'll help.
we're gonna fail. Let's go.
I can add or remove one word to make it easier. Would you like an easier version, or would you like the full, just the harder version?
I am no
Don't think
stranger
I can
to
ever tell you
suffering.
that I don't want
Right.
it hard.
I'm gonna say this. I live near Middlesbrough. I am no stranger to suffering. Lay it on
How
me,
about
my
this?
man.
I'll give you the harder one, and it might not be hard. You
Okay,
might be like,
okay.
"This is so easy." But if you need me to add one word later, I can. Okay?
Okay, I like a harder one, but go on.
Yeah. Is the word cross on?
No. The question
on.
is this.
Okay.
What was the name of the former Marquis member of the Voyager crew that took over as the new chef when Neelix departed, who proposed some interesting additions to the menu, including plasma leek soup, chicken warp cordon bleu, and red alert chili?
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Have you just come? Oh! Oh!
Almost.
I've arrived.
There we are. Well done. Red Alert Chili. Former Marquis,
Yeah.
Tom Paris.
No, he was never a marquee.
Would you like me to? I can add one word that might help you.
Go on.
Which was going to be, what was the name of the Bolian former marquis?
Oh, I haven't got a clue. I don't recognize Bolians.
Was it Jeff Bridges?
No.
Okay.
Was it?
So I've got a little video of Captain Goodwill here.
Why? What the hell?
Hello.
Was it Shell? Was it that dickhead from Elite Force?
What a...
Shell? Was it really?
It was Chow. And the reason you should know, particularly that he was the chef, is after you'd had that rant about Chow, I was watching Endgame.
Yeah.
And I realized he'd taken over as the chef. And I sent you a screenshot of him being the new chef.
Oh my god. I completely forgot. I fucking hate Shell, everybody.
And
For
you know
those...
what's funny is because I was like, oh, I need a little clip from that. And then it's like, it's a long video. Like, you know, you were playing for like as long as this.
A long time, yeah.
And talking of our friend's AI, I just put the video in. I was like, can you just find me where he starts shouting about Chow? And it's like, oh, I couldn't find it. It's a long video and it was live streamed, so I can't find you exactly the thing. But here's another video of him shouting about Chow.
Oh my god! So guys,
We have failed.
Have we failed?
The Dabo Wheel of Shame.
Yeah, I think we have failed because I've got a crap memory, which is well documented, and everyone is now laughing at me in Instagram. Okay, I get. Yeah, okay. Right, so we have failed. That means, unfortunately, everybody, the Dabo Wheel of Honour has to become. Hang on.
Dabo Wheel of Shama.
Oh God. Welcome, everybody, to the Dabo Wheel of Shame. If you are just joining us for the first time on Trekkin Up North, first of all, welcome.
Or just now.
If you are just joining, 2 hours and 31 minutes in, you are a trooper and you deserve rest. Welcome to the Dabo Wheel of episodes. In this wheel, every episode of Star Trek in existence has been programmed in, asterisks, and we have distilled 12 good episodes and 12 bad episodes, and whatever it lands on, we must yell at the top of our lungs, Dabo! And we must review it in the next episode of Trekking Up North. Now, I realise we are pressed for time, so I'm going to ask Jason first. Is there a bad episode that you think we should review?
No. I mean, I don't think there's any bad episode of Star Trek, is there?
Lies! Lies! In the world of Code of Honor, there is bad episodes.
Oh, pick a random one from Academy. Why not?
Oh,
We've already done them.
we've already done a Logium. I fled the country.
Yeah. Oh, and you've got me in so much trouble for that one, as I've mentioned already. So, I don't know. Is there a bad episode? Yes. Oh, there's unfortunately there's a number. So I don't know what you've programmed into your Dabo wheel. That is definitely not every bad episode of Star
We can't even remember it's been that long.
So let's just spin the wheel. Come on, let's just find out.
Let's spin the wheel.
I feel a little bit guilty about this. So
everybody,
I'm hoping for the burn one. I'm hoping for the episode.
Oh God, not so calm.
Yeah.
Oh God, right.
For.
Everybody in the live chat, everybody in the comments, everybody watching this back, you must text us, commenters, mention, do everything and say the word Dabo when we land in 3, 2, 1. Oh.
I saw it. I saw SoCal.
I saw Code of Honor twice.
It's the re-review, I believe.
Yes.
The Elysian
This is the one where
Kingdom.
Umbenga has his daughter that he just immediately forgets about after she's gone, isn't it? Is
How
that?
is this the fantasy episode?
I think so.
Elysian...
or is it not? Is this the?
Kingdom. There we go.
Just to say, Goodwill, I really need to go. So yeah, let's just
very quickly, season 1, episode 8, the Elysian Kingdom. The USS Enterprise becomes stuck. Yes, I want to allow her to go away. The USS Enterprise becomes stuck in a nebula that is home to an alien consciousness that traps the crew into a fairy tale. So we have never reviewed this. So this is going to be a good first episode review of Strange New World season 1.
I would say on that, and I know Synoiz has to go, but even if you don't like the episode, because I wasn't familiar with Christina Chong as an actress, it was so amazing to see her play this like completely different role, because Lan is so one-dimensional, like, and she's this princess, and she's like all, and she, like, I like Lan as a character, but I think she is an incredible actress. I like love her in Strange New Worlds, and this was the episode that I was like, oh, hold on, she is really good. So regardless of the episode itself, there's a silver lining for you.
Thank you so much to our wonderful guest Jason for being an absolute trooper tonight, for joining us in reviewing one of the best episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. It has been wonderful to have you. We do hope that you will come back. Thank you as ever to my delectable Geesian from the planet Honk, Science Officer Synoiz. He is a handsome Geesian, and I do hope he comes back next week. I hope.
He's late. He's not happy.
He's very.
I am really running out of time.
Thank you so much, everybody. We will see you on the next episode of Trekking Up North. Like, comment, and subscribe. Live long and prosper. Stay safe. And as ever, Miles.
Your sorbet sucks. Now get out.